The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
Valley, hooey, Hollywood, where any office boy or young mechanic can be a panic with just a good-looking fan. And any barmaid can be a star maid if she dances with or without a plan. Hooray for Hollywood, where you're terrific if you're even good. Where anyone at all from Shirley Temple to Amy Semple is equally understood. Go out and try your luck.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to a Radulich Broadcasting premium podcast. Damn you, Hollywood. And here's your host.
Yeah, I appreciate you leaning into my joke about how you say that. Because it is very Southern.
Yeah, it's getting more and more like Cletus with each passing week. Like, it's gonna be.
Hey, I could call my ma while I'm up here.
Hey, Ma, get off the damn house. Robert Winfree, yay!
Everyone, we are gathered here today to mourn,
to pronounce the death of film.
We are gathered here to memorialize. You know, film had a good run. It did. It had a pretty good run. And now it's dead. Just pulled off to the side of the road, shot in the head, and no more. No more film.
It is in a mass grave along with culture and conversation.
Yeah, it is.
And civility.
Civility
went a long time ago, and it may have died of natural causes.
I'm going to say civility. That's a hostage situation right there. Civility's in the jungle somewhere being
What
held.
else is in the mass grave? Social contracts.
That's gone.
Yeah. The traditional nuclear family.
Pretty much gone.
That got irreversible.
No, hang on. That's not irreversible, just for the record. It's
okay.
Just. No, you look at the state of the world, Mark, and you realize that the devil is taking hold. And it's not great it doesn't bode well for all of us. It really doesn't. And if you're wondering how I plan on tying all of this together into approximating a segue.
And if you're wondering how we got from the end of culture to the devil, it's because we are discussing the devil's favorite franchise, The Fast and the Furious.
This is not the devil's favorite franchise.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay.
We are discussing tonight Fast X.
X gonna give it to you. Gonna give it to you. Robert Winfree gonna give it to you.
I was waiting to see which. Yeah, there were about 3 different choices you had there.
Yeah, I went right to DMX.
And you went for DMX. Okay, that's
Can
fair.
I tell you? I don't care about this movie. Can I tell you though about my son? I love him dearly. So I had him in the car. Okay, so my birthday is coming up, and last year you spent your birthday with me. You and Jesse sat on my lap and we hugged and we talked about David Simon's "We Own This City," right? Do you remember all that?
Vaguely.
Okay. So that was my birthday party. I spent it with my best friends.
Yeah. Mark decided this is what I want for my birthday, and we all went, this looks relatively interesting. And then we got done with it and went, well, this was about half interesting.
It was fun to talk to each other. So this year, for my birthday, because I'm social.
Yes. Tell the people, Mark, what are we doing for your birthday, you and I?
What are you saying it that way for? What are you talking about?
Oh,
that, yeah. Okay, but that's not on my birthday or even close to it.
Yeah, but that's what we're doing for it.
Yeah, so Robert's gift to me. Robert celebrating my birthday a little late. His gift to me.
That is so the wrong way to frame this.
Robert presented himself in a gift wrap box And
So Mark said, please someone put this in our network chat.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this. It's around my birthday. One of you idiots.
Really
Fall
only
on this
you or
hand grenade with me. It'll be fun.
Really, only you or Jesse. Nobody else I would want to talk to. But
I'm aware.
Who am I going to talk to about The Idol with? Evan Bevins? My God, I'm not that cruel. So yeah,
that would be a heck of a show, wouldn't it?
That really would be. Like as Evan fucking drinks himself to death.
You'd make poor Ronnie sit through this, and he just.
Could you imagine a panel discussion on The Idol between myself, Evan Bevins, Chris Bailey, and Ronnie Adams?
I can. It's kind of hilarious.
Anyway, yes, Robert for my birthday is giving me a podcast, and that podcast is our discussion of The Idol. But what I want to talk about,
which even the French are going, boy, this is gratuitous. That's how you know it's bad.
Right. The French, who, to tie this into the Fast and the Furious, there was a joke on American Dad about how they stole a script to an upcoming Fast and the Furious movie, and it was 900 pages, and 90% of it was hardcore, erotic, gay male sex, and then 10% cars. And so they film it all, and then they cut out all the sex for American distribution, except for France.
And then but the point being, they're like, no, oh yeah, like, so wait, because the kids get a hold of this script and then they turn it in, and it's just, and they watch the movie like, this was barely in there. Like, what the heck? Oh no, we had to cut it down for, American audiences and international audiences everywhere except France. France gets a lot of Vin Diesel and Paul Walker naked.
Anyway, I'm doing all kinds of stuff for my birthday, but for my kids and my wife and I, as a family, my birthday party is to go to Janus Landing in St. Petersburg, Florida, not Russia, and go see Ugly Kid Joe and Fozzie.
Ew.
Oh, I'm so happy to be able to take my kids.
I have but one request.
Yes.
You buy a case of like triple D batteries.
Yeah, and throw them at Chris Jericho.
I need you to throw all of them over the course of a few songs at Chris Jericho.
As soon as he breaks into Judas, I'm going to throw batteries at him and yell, he's fat.
No, you should be yelling he's fat the whole time.
Oh, okay. Well,
have you not seen some of the stuff that he's just performing shirtless all the time now?
Awesome. I will be yelling he's fat the entire time. Anyway, So I had to get my son an appropriate gimmick for this concert. I got myself a Cinderella Night Songs World Tour t-shirt.
Okay.
Right?
That's right.
And I got my son, because he's a 9-year-old boy, I got him the Metallica Metal Up Your Ass t-shirt. And it's the knife coming out of the toilet bowl.
Okay.
So I was like, hey, Jonas, do you like your t-shirt? And he was like, I love it because I'm a boy and toilet humor is funny.
That's true.
And so I was like, okay, let me play some Metallica for you. And I played for him something from 72 Seasons. I played Master of Puppets. And he turns to me and says, Father. He calls me Father. He says, Father.
Your wish fulfillment right now.
Father, I don't like rock and roll music.
So you immediately threw him out of the car.
I yeeted him out of the car. No. And I said, but
immediately
why?
went to schedule a reversal of your vasectomy. And well, we got to try again. This one didn't turn out.
And I said, but why, apple of my eye, love of my life, joy of my world? Why don't you like the rock and roll music? We jam out to it. We headbang. You're having a good time. What say you? And he was like, it's not that I don't like rock and roll music, but my problem is, don't you understand, sir? Is because they're yelling and screaming and carrying on, and now he sounds like my father. Because they're yelling at me, I can't understand what they're saying. And this is important to me. I can't understand the lyrics. I can't understand what they're trying to tell me in these songs because they're screaming it constantly. How he wasn't able to figure out like what they were saying in 72 Seasons or Master of Puppets is beyond me. To me, James Hetfield's pretty clear.
It's really not like
I wasn't like I was playing for him Napalm Death,
Yeah.
But he wasn't getting it. And I'm like, all right, is this why you prefer rap to heavy metal? And he was like, yeah, those people I can understand quite clearly. They're not saying anything interesting, but at least I can understand them. So for the rest of the afternoon, yesterday and part of today, I was playing for him hardcore 90s rap. And that brings us to Fast X, because X gonna give it to you. What's my name? All right. I don't know if I'm going to put that whole thing on TikTok, but do you
If
want
you
to talk?
do, you have to cut it when I mime killing myself. They might shot in my head.
I'm cutting it as the hand comes up.
No. You cut it here. Boom.
Yeah, exactly. To be continued or, censored. Do we want to talk for TikTok purposes about this stupid franchise up to this point?
Yeah.
Let's do it. So I have, because no one really wants to hear my prolonged story about how I gave my son an inappropriate t-shirt and then played for him fucking, rap music. So let's talk about this asinine franchise.
So a few years back, Sean Comer and I did a 2-part Long Road to Ruin on the Fast and the Furious franchise to that point.
No, you mostly did it about his love of baseball and occasionally talked about those movies.
You're not wrong.
I listened. My wife nearly yeeted herself out of the car.
Good to know.
We love you, Sean. Can't wait to talk to you about LGBTQ movies in a few weeks. Anyway, yes, you guys
said that with a straight face. I approve.
We're doing the Trash Trilogy. Do you know what that is?
No, nor do I really want to.
I did this joke with Jesse last night. It's Pink Flamingos, Female Trouble, and Desperate Living, the biography of Mark Radulich.
Uh-huh.
All right. Take 2. A few years ago, Robert Winfree and good to his mother, Sean Comer, discussed at that time, I think it was
5.
5?
Yeah, I want to say it was only 5 because I know we talked about 5.
Yeah.
But I don't think 6 had come out yet. So
I know the first one that we reviewed was 7, if I recall. The most successful one ever.
I don't know. Who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you and I know we reviewed 7. I can't recall if we reviewed 6 or not. I don't think we did. Okay. But
so maybe 6 fell. I could have sworn we did. I know I'm gonna look it up. You keep talking. Okay. You did a 2-part Long Road to Ruin on the Fast and the Furious franchise up to that point, whatever it was.
Yeah, it either would have been 5 or 6, and if it was 6 was recent. Mm-hmm. That's how long ago we did those. We did that show. It was on those 2 shows. And this is a franchise whose existence continues to baffle me.
Yes, it was 4 through 6, by the way.
Okay, the second half was 4, 5, and 6. Okay.
Yep.
This is not a franchise that I understand. It's not a franchise I have a special attachment to.
Zachary Strobel, Radulich and Broadcasting Network superfan, the next Jesse Starcher. Will Fast 30 be stylized as Fast XXX? God, I hope so.
That's the crossover where Vin Diesel plays both of his characters.
As long as we're going to call it Fast XXX, it has to have hardcore gay sex this time for an American audience. Moving on.
No, we'll be talking about, I'm fairly sure, hardcore gay sex when it comes to The Idol, and I'm not looking forward to it.
Moving on.
So, again, this is just a franchise that, I don't know. I don't know how it keeps chugging along. There was this weird period of time when it just kind of kept stuttering.
Mm-hmm.
And
let's break this down. So you have this first movie, and it's about street racing and stealing shit. And people liked it. People it came out around the time that fast cars and stealing shit was like its own motif in movies. You had Gone in 60 Seconds. You had The Italian Job was more of a traditional heist movie, but it also involved fast cars. There was a couple of other movies in the
there were several that didn't really take off, and this one did, and people kind of liked it, and I don't know why, but they did.
So then Vin Diesel fucks off, and then they continue it with Paul Walker, and they bring in Tyrese, and it's still about fast cars and stealing stuff. And then they do Tokyo Drift, and they were like, let's do fast cars, but this time in Japan.
The problem with the problem with Tokyo Drift and why it has no connection to the franchise other than the name and hey, fast cars.
Yeah,
they don't even steal stuff really in Tokyo Drift. It's just, hey, we're in Japan and high schoolers.
No, this was absolutely somebody script sitting in a desk. They're like, let's make this movie for $150. And like, okay, but no one's gonna go see a movie called My Japanese Car Driving Sideways. All right, well, what if we call it Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift? Terrific. Cut print. And then somewhere in the production, they were like, hey, what if we did more of these movies, but we get Vin Diesel back? And then, at gunpoint, they threw him in front of the camera and were like,
no.
Look, Vin Diesel's back.
No. That's not how that went.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know the story behind that, he agreed to appear in that as long as he got complete access to the rights to Riddick.
Oh, okay. I actually do remember
he
that
actually
we talked about that with Riddick.
Yeah, he owned that completely.
Right. So anyway,
they do that. Then after Tokyo Drift isn't well received, but Vin Diesel shows up for a cameo at the end, and they decide, you know what? How about we just remake the first one? We pretend it's the next one, and we'll just try and get this rolling again.
Right. They soft rebooted it like mid shift.
Yeah, like not a joke. The entire structure is almost identical to the first one. It's
and then
vaguely pathetic.
And then fifth introduces The Rock. They're in Brazil, and this is like the best thing ever. This is the one where they steal the safe and wreck Rio de Janeiro with it. And this is important because Fast X connects to that movie in particular.
A little bit.
But this is where it starts becoming less about stealing shit and fast cars and more about we are super spies and our superpower is driving cars.
It's where things really start going. Like somebody asked, this thing got posted on Twitter. And it went viral because someone said, like, what's the exact moment that the Fast and the Furious franchise abandoned reality? Because the first movie is extremely grounded. It's one of the It's one of the appeals of that movie is everything here feels very real.
Yeah.
Well, air quotes around real, but you know what I mean.
Well,
like nobody talks like those people talk. Nobody.
Essentially, the first one is a train robbery.
The first one is Point Break, with less extreme sports and more.
Well, I say train robbery because when you think about a train robbery, it's guys on horses and they're riding alongside the train and they're boarding the train and they're robbing the train and then they're getting back on their horses again. The whole thing with Vin Diesel and his crew, as a comparison, is they're driving their cars and they're stealing stuff while driving their cars. Their ability to stunt drive cars is what allows them to steal things at high speed. That's their value. And it is literally the one through thread all the way up until the last movie. Not this one. This one is retarded. I mean 9. Because essentially their ability to steal things at high speed is what made them valuable to the not FBI that Kurt Russell runs.
The agency.
I got your agency. Anyway, so that meant many things to me. In any case, that has been the one through thread.
Do you want to just talk about your personal problems?
Nope. What personal problems? I'm doing well at the moment. Anyway, so that has been like the whole thing with the Fast and the Furious, because I think. But the question is, when did they abandon reality? They abandoned reality in number 5. No. They wrecked an entire city with that safe.
Okay, hang on.
That's where it got ridiculous.
Allow me to express to you more of the ridiculousness that has happened in this franchise pre-5.
Okay.
Yeah, let me set my camera. See if it'll refocus. Allow me to introduce to you Too Fast, Too Furious.
Okay.
And within the first 10 minutes of this movie, James Remar stands in the middle of a street race or some other fast cars. It might have been during the middle of a robbery of some kind. And he shoots Paul Walker's car with a thing. It's a metal doohickey that sinks into the frame of into the body of his car and sends forth, Mark, an electric shock that short circuits his car and stops it dead in its tracks.
Okay.
I can't tell you how stupid that is.
Okay.
Exist. This is fabrication. This is nothing. Doesn't exist. You can't shoot a car with a very bad with a prop that left over.
It's almost like it was almost like a miniature EMP.
Which doesn't exist.
No, but would you say that when I think you're being a little too literal.
Okay.
Because when they say it abandons reality, we can still tolerate a wide berth of movie magic. When they say abandon reality, they're like when this series decided physics wasn't a thing anymore and they were going to out Marvel. And when I say out Marvel, I'm talking they dropped, as we all know, Black Widow from orbit on her head even, and she got up and went and dusted herself off. So when the Fast and the Furious franchise became the Marvel movies with cars, that's what we're talking about.
No. Because again, the question was not when did they become really stupid. It's when did they abandon reality.
Okay, well, when physics stopped being a thing.
You abandon reality when you fabricate technology and you have James Remar shoot a prop that looks like you stole it from the leftover set of Star Trek The Next Generation.
Okay.
That magically shuts down his car.
Fine.
That movie features at its climax Tyrese driving a car off of a slight incline in dirt to land on the upper deck of a yacht. That does not collapse immediately under the weight of the flying car. It just sits there on the upper deck of the yacht.
Mm-hmm. Well, they made stronger boats since Titanic.
Mark!
I'll just go, thanks. You're on your own.
I get the indestructible yacht. It became a running gag between Sean and I for a while, almost as much as Vin Diesel beating everyone across Asia.
I still say I'm committed to my answer. You can disagree, and we got to move this on.
Okay, how about pretending that some small-time drug hustler out of Mexico was able to smuggle more cocaine across the border than Pablo Escobar using fast-moving cars in tunnels under the ground? You idiots have no concept. Yes.
That was 4. Yeah. Okay.
You idiots have no concept of what Pablo Escobar did. It was just a name you were familiar with.
Okay. I still say it's 5. I feel
wrong in so many ways.
I feel like the safe being used as a morning star to wreck Rio de Janeiro is where everybody involved in this franchise recognized that the audience for this thing had an appetite for the patently absurd. I mean, at this point, it was like a guy paying for an escort. The escort knows what the guy wants. The guy is paying for what he wants, and they're in this tacit agreement. They're going to do this, and they're going to have this exchange, and they're both going to be happy with it. That was 5.
No.
That's the Fast and the Furious.
Hang on. No one's going to be happy with it, but we're going to
All right, well... But I mean, I really do. Because I was thinking about this. Jonas and I were actually talking about it on the way home. And he was like, because he kind of had a similar thing. He was like, when did this become the dumbest franchise ever?
It always was.
And I was like, when the audience decided, and like the Critical Drinker, I think is because that's what prompted the conversation. We listened to the Critical Drinker's review of this.
I haven't heard his review of this one actually. So
he loved it, but he loved it because he was like, I recognize this is the dumbest thing ever, and I'm kind of here for it because we've had a steady diet of vegan movies. I finally got something with that's meaty and fatty and makes me feel good about myself. That's essentially what his argument was. But and I was talking.
That's as far as arguments go. Like just the benefit of this movie just being different in that respect from most of what the other stuff we got. Like,
right.
There's you and I yelled for quite a bit at the last several movies we've reviewed about how dumb they are.
Mm-hmm.
What makes those movies so bad is not just that they're dumb, but they are unaware of their own stupidity.
Yeah, no, this one leaned into it.
This movie knows how ridiculous it is.
Right. But to go back so we can move forward, I think the moment where the people making it and the audience were in agreement, we want to go as dumb as possible and everyone will be happy, was 5. I think, even at 4, well, you're kind of picking at some of the details not making a tremendous amount of sense or not being realistic. I don't think at that point the audience was like, no, we are here for the dumb hand job. And 5 they were. And I think it was happening as 5 was happening. Because no one knew what 5 was going to be just yet. They saw 4. They were happy to see Vin Diesel and Paul Walker and everybody and the whole gang. But I think everyone watching that finale with the vault and at that point they were like, more of this. And then the movies just got successively dumber and dumber and dumber and more destruction and more silly. And people were like, we're not satisfied. More of this. Keep going. And that's how we got to Fast X, unfortunately.
That's how we got to 9, where we launched Tyrese and Ludacris into outer space in a Ford Pinto.
We had a car Tarzan swinging, and then we launched the Ford Pinto into space. And I do feel like, because the joke about where they're going to go next space, and everyone's looking around the room going, how can we make that happen, but also stupid? And then they accomplished it. And people were like, slow clap. Well done. That's what we came here for.
And then they still decided to keep going with the franchise. Like, I feel like you can only jump the shark so many times.
Well, I tell you what.
Before everything falls apart.
I think we can, I mean, unless you have anything else to say about this dumbass franchise, I think my take on Fast X before we get into the plot is I think everybody involved in this knows they've run out of road, so to speak. They know they're at the end. They know there's not much juice to squeeze out of this. And I feel like the executives at Universal are like, no, make these movies as long as they're making billions of dollars. But the cast and the crew and everyone involved is like, please don't. Like there's nothing more we can do with this. Let's just end it already.
Here's my problem. This is one of my big problems with this movie. They try to pass off the wholesale repeating of previous stunts as Jason Momoa's like, hey, don't you like the homage? Yeah. I've been watching. I'm picking at you. You did this before.
He literally references the safe bit when we do the neutron bomb rolling through the streets of Rome.
Yeah, like, because they know they did not structure that action set piece around that line of dialogue from him. They did that action set piece and then went, oh crap, we're hacks. Repeating stuff we've previously done more than once. What do? Have the character say something. Everyone will go along with it. That's how that came about.
I honestly, look, I would never have canceled this podcast, not in a million years, unless I had a family emergency. Not even a hot date. This is my religious thing. I am here every Tuesday. This is church. But there is a part of me that didn't want to talk about this movie for that reason. Nobody wants to hear me and you tear this movie apart. This is candy. This is dumb fun. No one's thinking about this movie.
This is deep fried Oreos being used to scoop ice cream into your mouth.
Yeah, for the most part. So it's like,
and we're here to tell you this is bad for you.
Yeah, we're here to say that you're gonna die of diabetes if you watch this movie.
So,
speaking of dying,
as far as the plot of this thing goes. We open with a flashback to Fast Five, where it turns out that okay, I have one thing I have to get off my chest about this.
Okay.
Because this annoys me.
Look, this is not a movie review anymore. This is now a therapy session. Please, share your pain.
Here's the only thing I'm going to say about this, because, again, this annoys me.
I'm here.
You set your movie in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. No one there speaks Spanish. They speak Portuguese. They speak Brazilian Portuguese.
Okay, so really quick, and I mean like 10 words or less, and I'm going to do a David and count them. Explain to the people why your whole thing with language vis-a-vis like mixed martial arts and all of that, why this bugs you in particular. So
there's a lot of Brazilian fighters who have come into MMA. So I've heard enough Portuguese because through translation to get
and for you silly people out there that don't understand this, Brazil isn't Spanish, it's Portuguese.
Yeah, they speak Brazilian Portuguese. It's not actually the same as Portugal Portuguese, but that's
anyway,
American
not settled
English
by Spain.
Yeah, and they actually do get a few words in Portuguese in this movie when they go back to Rio. Somebody told them at some point, like, hey, we might actually want to use Portuguese. The actual language that these people speak.
They don't speak Mexican? Shut up.
But utterly lost in translation is a quirk of Brazilian Portuguese. Words that start with the letter R are pronounced like H's in Brazilian Portuguese. They don't actually call it Rio de Janeiro. It's Rio de Janeiro. And normally this wouldn't be much of a deal, right? It's a little quirk of language, but not only do I recognize this, you then decide that your villain's last name should start with an R. So all I do, every time I hear someone go, every time I hear the Brazilians, the alleged Brazilians in this, go, oh, Mr. Reyes. None of you would say that. It would be Reyes. And it drives me up the wall because it's so unbearably stupid and it was so easy to avoid. Like, this isn't one of those nuanced issues. Like, no, you could have fixed this very simply.
Yeah, they chose not to. I'm not entirely, like I said before, that's why I made the joke. I'm not entirely certain going all the way up to Michelle Rodriguez. Anyone who worked on this movie knew any of that. Because I'll tell you, I actually took a Latin American history class, and somebody asked, it might have actually been me at the time, like, oh, are you just talk about Brazil? They're like, no, because it's not Hispanic, it's Portuguese, the whole other thing. So that you wouldn't count that. I think it was like Hispanic history. Like, you wouldn't count that as Hispanic. They're not Hispanic.
There's two other countries above Brazil, like Suriname and Guyana. You wouldn't study either because they weren't settled by the Spanish. Those two, actually, their official language is English. If you ever hear someone from those areas talk, they sound like they're Caribbean islanders. They have a similar accent to that, but English is the language of those places.
All right. Anyway, so back to Fast X.
Anyway, we flash back to, hey, this guy was here the whole time. Totally. Jason Momoa in the franchise the whole time.
Yep.
He was there in Fast 5, and we see him being knocked out of a car by Vin Diesel wielding the vault like a flail with all the finesse of Indiana Jones brandishing a whip. Just
that vault was exactly where it needed to be at all times.
Every single one of them. Cable never would have broken. And
as it was being dragged through solid concrete buildings.
And we see his part in this. He was there, he survived, but his father, Hernan Reyes, was killed by The Rock. But we're saving The Rock for our post-credit scene. Just wait. So this movie is that guy, Dante Reyes, played by Jason Momoa, whose direction.
No, please don't, not now, because if I talk about nothing else, we have to discuss Jason Momoa and his interesting acting choices. So just save it.
So there's Jason Momoa. The only comment I'm going to make now is doing the world's worst Joker impression, as he goes about trying to exact vengeance.
Mm-hmm.
We see Dominic Toretto and his son and Letty, and he's nervous because we must have foreboding and to foreshadow things that are about to happen. And three of our idiots go off to Rome. It's Roman, Tyrese Gibson, Ludacris, Tez, and what's her face? I can't remember her name. I don't care. The British chick. We'll go with that.
Helen Mirren?
No.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. The Black Broad.
I know who Helen Mirren is.
Hang on.
I think her
Nathaniel Ramsey, played by Nathalie Emmanuel.
Yeah, Ramsey. Okay. So they're going to go do something allegedly for the agency in Rome, and they piss off. And right around then, Charlize Theron shows up. And she's like, I need your help. And Dom is like, I should kill you because you murdered my ex-wife, the mother of my son. And she goes, but you'll really want to hear my last words, at which point Dominic Toretto remembers I am a cartoon character. So he and Michelle Rodriguez hear out Cypher, Charlize Theron. And she tells them, the devil is coming, Mark. The devil.
The devil.
It's Jason Momoa. And he attacked her, blackmailed almost all of her men into working for him by threatening the lives of their family members or whatnot. And she escaped by beating to a bloody pulp 18 men. Got stabbed once.
The ability...
Then survived an elevator crash.
So Alexis isn't here. It's just me and you. So the occasional stopping and chatting for a minute is okay because it won't drag this out too much. I hate it when there's more of us here because this has got a lot of people that have to talk, but it's only me and you tonight. But I have to address that because it's a problem I'm having with a lot of films in Hollywood. And we said this, I think, on a different podcast. It might have been Peter Pan and Wendy or something else, where it's just like,
I did bring it up there, but
90-pound girls being able to take on men of equal or greater size. And it's not a situation where it's like a Ronda Rousey beating up me. It is a situation where everyone's trained fighters, but somehow the 90-pound woman is able to throw soldiers hither and yon and beat this happens throughout this movie. Brie Larson does it in a bar. Jordana Brewster does it in her house. Like
115-pound Jordana Brewster fending off trained tactical assault people.
A dozen of them, a fucking dozen, because there's there's a good stretch there before John Cena saves her, and and then John Cena, look, God bless him, he's the size of King fucking Kong, but they made him Colossus in this movie. Like
that just goes to show you how even slimmed down John Cena is bigger than the average person.
He was hitting people, and they were flying into orbit. They were passing Black Widow on the way up. As she fell. Yeah. I'm never going to let that go. Anyway.
One of them passed her a parachute, I'm pretty sure.
So, Michelle Rodriguez is able to take Charlize Theron in a fight, even though Charlize Theron is twice her size in height. Because Michelle Rodriguez is about 3 feet tall.
Yeah, but I'll go with that because Michelle Rodriguez is kind of built. Like that would actually be a fight.
Michelle Rodriguez is also not a trained fighter. Not in these movies, at least.
Mark, but she's one of the family. This imbues her with superpowers.
Yeah, I get it. No, I understand that much.
She says Shazam, and then
right. But Brie Larson in the 2 or 3 scenes where she has to fist fight people, and it's like, how the fuck are you? Yeah, her and the Jordana Brewster scene really bugged the shit out of me because this is an ongoing thing in Hollywood where we keep giving 90-pound women the Hulk powers against people. Trained fighters, trained soldiers. It is the dumb, and it's driving me insane.
Yeah, I've been. Let me welcome you to this particular area. I've been here for a while. Thank you.
Well, I mean, just like at this point, and it would have made a little bit more sense, and I would have believed it and been okay with it had Brie Larson just showed up in the movie as Captain Marvel. If you're gonna make her Captain Marvel, just should have her show up in the fucking suit. Sorry, did your brain just dive out of the back of your head?
I'm trying to figure out like where you were going with that.
Because never mind, just keep moving.
So Charlize Theron has escaped from there. She wants help from Dominic Toretto, and Dominic Toretto calls Scott Eastwood, who's here for 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. What are you doing here, Scott Eastwood? A very brief cameo.
I'm here, and then I'm going to jump out of a car in Rome, and that's going to be the last you see of me.
I'm going to jump right out of the movie.
I inadvertently tackled the director's daughter on this particular, and they just, that was it.
Honestly, I would have enjoyed this movie more if they really leaned into breaking the fourth wall, and Scott Eastwood literally jumped out of frame, and the camera just follows him. He hits the lighting guy.
This is the kind of thing that needs a Mel Brooks treatment, but it's too stupid. You couldn't. You'd get a couple of those gags, but there's nothing to like. Mel Brooks's parodies were clever.
Yeah,
and you can't be clever with this.
No, this would be like a Damon Wayans parody, or Wayans for the parody. All right, so Scott Eastwood fucks off. So
Scott Eastwood shows up and says, "Well, let's find your friends," and they go, "But wait, they were doing a thing for you, right?" And he goes, No, they weren't. We didn't have anything. And they go, "Oh, crap. Tyrese screwed up again." So they all go to Rome, where they're going to figure this thing out. And while in Rome, everything goes sideways because, of course, this is where Jason Momoa launches his first attack. And he has a bomb, a very specific bomb, like a 20 kiloton nuclear yield in the back of a truck that he wants to drive to the Vatican and blow it up because why not? So they try to stop it. He's remote control driving the truck, and they show up. They try to stop it, and it gets loose. It gets loose, Mark, and it starts rolling through the streets of Rome.
This bomb was the descendant of the boulder from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
This ball of infinite momentum.
Yeah. No matter what it hit, no matter what it smashed through, it maintained its speed as if somebody were driving it.
As it follows through the streets of Rome, going for the Vatican still. Never mind, the Vatican's actually a legitimately walled off it's a sovereign nation. The Vatican is not actually part of Italy.
Here's the thing. Even Italian police would have set up a blockade and stopped this thing. Like they wouldn't have chased it like Keystone Cops.
But Mark, you don't understand. The Italian Carabinieri aren't even trying to stop the bomb. They're trying to stop Vin Diesel as he's trying to stop the bomb. Right. They're not actually trying to stop the bomb.
Right. And it's so funny because I think like Vin Diesel,
it lights on fire at one point. It runs over a gas station.
Dude, Vin Diesel in the movie didn't know why they were stopping him. It was like, I'm trying to stop. You see me trying to stop the bomb.
Right
there. Like, hey, what are you doing, Mario? You know, and Vin Diesel's like, but I'm on your side. And they're like, we were told by the bad guy to stop you.
And he eventually knocks it into the Tiber River 1 minute before it explodes, because 1 second before it explodes, because this, of course, would severely neutralize the destructive capability of this particular bomb. And everyone saw our intrepid band of idiots do this, so now they're all wanted criminals, all of them. And this is where the party splits, Mark. Party splits.
Yep. Frodo and Sam go one way. Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, they go hunt some Uruk-hai.
And then in the middle of that, Merry and Pippin get abducted by the Ents.
Yes.
So what happens here is Letty gets arrested, and the agency send her to a black site. Literally in Antarctica.
Not Detroit.
Which would have been worse. Dom is able to escape, and he has a brief scene in front of I have to say, just like for parts of it's a minor technical gripe. Anytime they do a big shot from someone in the car, the green screening is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a scene in this sequence where the thing like rolls over the part of the windshield right by Dom, and you got Vin Diesel in the car looking away from it. It's horrible.
There's a couple of shots where they're driving through giant balls of massive flame, and it looks like Florence Pugh being blown off the Death Star in Black Widow.
A little bit.
Like it's that cartoony.
So he has a moment with Helen Mirren, who's in Rome because she's Helen Mirren.
What are you doing here, Helen Mirren? A very brief cameo.
Very brief. And he puts out word to some of his friends about, hey, we're going to do stuff, and I need everyone to meet at the safe house. And then he heads off. And our three idiots, the three stooges, well, four, because Han's with them, so these chuckleheads, they jump into a shipping container full of cologne and are transported to London, which is where the face of their adventure begins. And then back home on the ranch, you see our other force here is the agency, and Alan Ritchson is here, and he's the one in charge of the agency now because Kurt Russell wasn't invited back apparently, or was too busy.
I'll tell you what, his career has had quite the uptick because he was Hawk on of Hawk and Dove on the Titans show that started off on Disney on DC Universe and then migrated over to I think HBO Max. And then he got Reacher, and he's been in some other stuff. And like he's Critical Drinker named him as like probably like the next up and coming big action star. He is yoked. He is good looking, and he's really good in this.
He's a good actor. Like if there's any justice in the world, he will be. Like he's very good.
Like it's a shame that that I noticed him in Titan and didn't really give him any credit because that show sucks.
It does.
But like
it's terrible.
But apparently he's really good in Reacher.
Oh, he is. I've seen it. He's very good. Season 2 is coming out in the near future. He's done some other stuff too. I mean, bless him, he was in those terrible Turtles movies.
Okay.
He's Raphael. Yeah.
Oh, he's a voice actor. Okay.
No. The CGI ones, the Michael Bay Turtles movies, right?
Yeah, but
they're all motion capture.
Oh, is that really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know that was him. So moving on.
Yeah, no, that's him. And if you ask him about it, he will bury that production. Like the entire experience of that just buries it wholesale as it deserves. Anyway, he's here and he's now in charge of the agency, and he wants to. He believes...
Hang on, can we talk about that scene with him and Brie Larson for just a second?
No,
where he literally turns to the camera and in the most meta thing I've seen in months, basically has the conversation we had 20 minutes ago. There's a line in there like Jonas was like snorting. He was laughing so hard. He was like, "These people break the laws of physics," and like it was something like these idiots break the laws of physics and then they do it twice.
If it can be stolen, they've stolen it, and if it breaks the laws of God and physics, they've done it twice.
Right. And then turns and looks at the camera. It's
Pretty
great.
much. And plank of wood, Brie Larson is there.
Oh my god.
Is it just in her contract she has to be insufferable? I mean,
she
why is she here?
There has to be Brie, can you come in to Universal Studios? We want to talk to you about doing a Fast and the Furious movie. Okay, what are we thinking about me? We need a twat. And we can't think of anyone. We only know 2 blondes in Hollywood. It's you and Margot Robbie, and she's not a twat. You're the twat.
Well,
so, no, Margot
she's doing Barbie. You do this.
Yeah, fine. Like I said, there's only 2 blondes in Hollywood, and Margot Robbie's busy.
Well, and Emma Stone every 3rd movie.
Yeah, we need an actual actress.
So Brie Larson is here, and okay,
yeah.
She's here, and
Brie Larson is here and currently and still not trying at all.
She's here to speak for the trees, Mark. She's here to speak for the defense.
Yes.
She doesn't believe the media narrative, which jumps all over this whole thing in Rome instantly. And she's like, I know this feels wrong. They've done good work for the agency. And Alan Ritchson goes, we're a clandestine international like super governmental agency. We don't do good things. We're not good people. Who told you these lies? What did you think you were doing here?
Right.
And she goes, fine, if you're going to mansplain, I'm going to leave. And she leaves.
Yep.
And she goes to help our intrepid band of idiots. But he also sends a squad to collect Jordana Brewster and Little B, the Dominic's kid. So they show up at the house, and there's a fight, and John Cena comes out. He does the run-in. And John Cena takes Little B, and I'll take care of my nephew.
This is the most brilliant writing in all of the movie, by the way. This is the only part of the movie that is like legitimate. Like, you guys made a decision. It was the right decision. Yes. And it's the only thing in the movie that totally works is the misadventures of John Cena and Little Boy.
John Cena I don't know what it is about him.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of those adults who instantly gets kids.
Yeah.
Instantly.
There was a chemistry between John Cena and the kid that plays Little B that was magic on screen, and it's the best part of the movie.
Much like this character is the not this actor.
Mm-hmm.
This character is the key to hidden magic, because if you'll recall, this character was the best part of Fate, because it's the baby that Jason Statham rescues in the airplane.
Right. And the best scene of the entire movie
is him talking to that baby as he beats his way through these people
yes,
in the aircraft.
He is able to do a choreographed gung fu fight scene with a baby in the car seat the entire time.
This character,
it's magic.
Key to finding random bits of magic. This character. Mm-hmm. So John Cena and this kid are going to go do their thing. So now we're following all these disparate lines, and they kind of go as follows. Brie Larson flies to Antarctica, like you do, and talks with Letty, and gives her. Well, first she meets with. This annoys me because this is actually an in-universe error. She meets with Dom in Naples, and they kind of talk, and he's like, yeah, oh, you're Kurt Russell's daughter, and like, you wish you had 1/8 of Kurt Russell's charisma. And he's like, well, I need your help on a couple of things, and I need you to get Letty out of the black site. And she goes, I can't do it. And he says, well, impossible is nothing. You just have to have some faith. And she decides, all right, sure, we'll do this. So she goes to Antarctica to talk with Letty, and she stabs her in the shoulder, and Letty wakes up in the surgery ward right next to Charlize Theron, because Mark, you work in something approximating a detention facility. You would totally just.
Yeah, no, we don't separate people at all in a correctional facility.
So those two are going to have their thing. John Cena and the kid go on a road trip and listen to Good Vibrations by Marky Mark and the
Funky Bunch.
Whatever they were.
Yep.
I was about to say something much less family friendly.
Marky Mark and the Clean Underwear.
Got
the good vibrations.
Yeah, they do that.
To see my penis.
That's not the line. Dom, after having been in Naples, goes to Rio de Janeiro to try and find more information about Dante. where he meets the long-lost sister of Elena, who is the wife of Chris Hemsworth, who was the mother of his daughter in universe and dead. And he gets in son, yeah, and gets into a street race with Dante that Dante wins after blowing up a couple of other cars.
I'll save that for my craft review, but we went from the best part to the dumbest part of the movie.
Like that.
Yeah.
So he's doing some of that, and our trio of idiots, our quadrilogy of idiots.
Well, Han's not an idiot. It's three idiots plus one.
He's kind of an idiot. So Jason Momoa at some other point has stolen all of their money, except for Tyrese, because Tyrese is intelligent. He did not put his money in the bank. He didn't put it in the stock market. He put it in the old prison wallet. He takes off the hoodie he's wearing, and he's got like a bodysuit with pockets just all over his torso as cash. And he's able to then try to help them buy stuff. So they go to London. They're in London, and they try to go buy stuff off the black market, but they go to Pete Davidson. And if you're going to have Pete Davidson in your movie, Mark, there's only one reason to have Pete Davidson in your movie, and it's to violently murder him. And I don't mean the character. I mean, you lure him to a set, and then you just kill him.
Just Brandon Lee him?
More violent than you sell the snuff film.
Okay, move this on before you get us kicked off YouTube.
And that goes badly because Pete Davidson is useless and was going to sell them out for the reward that's being plastered all over the dark web. So Ramsey punches him in the face for being a jerk, and then when he insults Tyrese throws talcum powder on him. Sort of.
Yeah, he essentially does like the Mr. Fuji Yokozuna years. And
No.
Stand in the eyes.
No, because that's the big drawback and throw the salt. This was just.
Well, he's like not good at it, but that's essentially what he did. I honestly,
Pete
in
Davidson,
the next one, I wanted
Pete Davidson calls him a ghetto magician.
I honestly want them to lean into this more with Tyrese because there's 2 more films after this. It was supposed to be 1 more, but I know, fucking lizard brain. So we're getting 3 of these now, and by the end of it, I want Tyrese to be green misting people. Like, they're in a situation, and they're like, Tyrese, save us! We have to get us out of here. And he's just like, and a green mist in the guy's face, and they fuck off.
So their last ditch attempt.
Watch that happen now, and you think back to this and go, I hate you, Mark.
Look, they don't know what to do with this anymore. We both.
Yeah.
Sure. Let's lean more into the pro wrestling side of things. No. I don't want Tyrese to do it. I want the Great Muta to drop in and do it.
What are you doing here, Great Muta?
And then Tyrese tries to do it later and fails.
Sure.
So
like
their last ditch attempt at this is to meet up with Jason Statham. And this leads into I think it was the mid-credit scene from 9. Mm-hmm. Where Han is talking to Jason Statham. And because we've gone about 20 seconds in this movie without some kind of action scene, the agency attacks.
Yep.
As we're in here. So we fight them off, and Jason Statham says, fine, you can buy stuff from me. There's cars, there's weapons. Pay for it, and it's yours. And then Ramsey tells him, but they're after anyone who's ever helped us. That includes your mother. And Jason Statham, like any good son, arms himself to the teeth and says, good luck. I got something to take care of.
Yeah. And he'll be back in Hobbs and Shaw Part 2, The Search for More Money.
That's not actually a thing. And he heads off, never to be seen again in this movie, though I'm sure he'll be back for the sequel. So our quadrilogy of idiots get their stuff, and they get onto a cargo plane, and they head for the rendezvous point in Portugal. Meanwhile, Vin Diesel has discovered who Dante Reyes is and where he might be, so he goes to the old police station, Mark. The same one they pulled the vault out of, because nostalgia? Is there nostalgia for this? No, there isn't. There's no nostalgia for anything about this franchise. He goes there, and he gets a call, and he trades barbs with the world's worst version of the Joker. And yes, that includes Jared Leto's. And then the agency arrives and arrests Dom as Jason Momoa kidnaps what's-her-face, and they get into a shootout on the same bridge where the first Reyes died.
It is important to know that at this point, Jack Reacher is on Dom's side. Keep that in mind.
Hang on, no. There's the attack, and then he's like, wow, I must have been wrong about my assessment of things. Clearly, you're being set up, and we were just attacked, and I was just shot at. Yeah. And I got shot in the vest.
I was nearly murdered. Yeah. So I'm on your side now, Dom. Keep that in mind for the next fucking thing that happens.
And that's a thing in a second. But they get up, there's a big shootout, and Dominic does stupid things with a car because that's his superpower. And Brie Larson shows up at the end because she did. And then a helicopter shows up. And it shoots poor Alan Ritchson square in the vest. Right, dead center in the vest because he's wearing a tactical vest. And Brie Larson takes the most survivable gunshot in human history.
She takes one in the shoulder.
No. Like, we're not even talking shoulder. We're like upper trapezius, Nick.
Right.
And they act like
had she been Scott Steiner, it would have bounced off.
Probably. or Tom Hardy, Traps for Days.
Yeah, right? that's the other one I was thinking of.
So she gets shot, like the most glancing shot in the history of glancing shots. But Jason Momoa uses the opportunity that she's selling this like death to steal back the God's Eye, the magical doohickey that lets him find anyone, anywhere, anytime, any place. And now he can find Dominic's son, even though he's technically like in an airport, like on an airplane. I'll find him. This will make it inevitable. And so Elena's younger sister takes Brie Larson to a hospital where I'm sure they will just look at her and go, get out.
Here's a bandit. Get out, twat.
Yeah, you don't even get stitches. Like, again, just the world's worst gunshot from that sniper.
Well, in Brie Larson's defense, she's paper thin and 90 pounds.
I don't care.
So I'm sure that bullet went right through her.
So Alan Ritchson then says to Dom, like, I just got shot. I'm kind of on your side now. Let's do the thing. So he and Dom get into a cargo plane and they fly to Portugal, where the rendezvous point is. How Dominic Toretto and Alan Ritchson get from Rio de Janeiro to Portugal faster than our other idiots from London to Portugal.
Well,
it's a little bit beyond
the
me.
Hexagonal wormhole things from Guardians of the Galaxy was my explanation for that. Or a wizard did it.
So our other couple of things going on here. So Michelle Rodriguez and Charlize Theron get into a fist fight as they try to escape. But at the end of it, they both kind of decide, well, let's call it a draw. And then Michelle Rodriguez climbs up a tunnel and is like, yay, where are we? And she opens a door to expose herself to Antarctica. And she climbs back down in a huff because what can she do? And there's Charlize Theron with winter gear going, I did have a plan before you tried to punch me in the face. So they gear up and they climb back out and they piss off until the end of the movie. John Cena and the kid watching a Minions movie because branding on the airplane realize they've been tailed, use one of John Cena's many illicit contacts to help them out. John Cena single-handedly knocks out 3 men and stuffs them into an airplane bathroom. Then, with the power of 3 mini bottles of vodka, he fuels a pseudo-glider that he and the kid had been lugging around pretending it was a kayak. How they got that through customs, I'll never know. Sir, would you like to check that? No.
I mean, that doesn't appear to be a bomb. It's not like it's a shoe or something, so that's fine. Bring it on.
So they go down into the belly of the plane. They make this thing up, and the kid wants to fuel it with rosé, and John Cena goes, no, that doesn't work. Long story, you need something purer, we use the vodka. So the 3 mini bottles of vodka is enough to power this flight craft. They climb into it, drop out of the bottom of the commercial airliner, and glide their way to the safe house in Portugal. where John Cena reveals to the kid that he's working on a rocket car. Not a car that is powered by rockets, but a car that launches rockets because he's
essentially he turned like almost like a Mustang or something into a tank.
Because he's John Cena. Like this is the most believable thing in the world that he would try to build this. So, but because somewhere along the way, between the God's Eye and other stuff, what's his nuts Joker has found where they are, and he sends his goons. And John Cena gets the kid in the car, and they drive out, and they blow up some goons with his rockets because rocket car. And they're trying to escape, but they're a little bit outgunned, and then his rocket gun breaks, and it's not looking good. And then the aircraft flies low overhead and drops Dominic Toretto out of it at a speed that...
It was just missing the A-Team theme at that point.
It really was.
Like, would have been great.
He lands on two other cars.
Right, the two cars break his fall. Is what happened.
Those cars utterly destroyed his perfect working condition.
Yeah, no. His car falls on those cars break. So essentially, those cars operate as a table does in wrestling. Like
Badly.
So the cars get smashed, but Mick Foley is fine. So moving on.
That's not how that works. So now Dom is driving, and Dante is here, and he's driving, and John Cena is trying to keep the kid safe, and they go through a tunnel, and Dante shows up, and he steals the kid right out of the back of John Cena's car.
Well, no, the kid was on top of the car because
he goes on top into the back trying to fix the rocket launcher, and he does.
Right. And then he just kind of stays up there, and Jason Momoa fucking like snatches him.
And Jason Momoa drives up and goes yoink.
Yoink.
And then he talks to the kid for a little bit because he can't shut up.
Yeah.
And
then was the movie where the villain never shuts up, and we were both like annoyed about it. Where
I don't know.
I think we were thinking of maybe Lex Luthor and Batman v Superman.
He does never shut up.
Oh my god, yeah, that actor was like, please stop talking.
Jesse Eisenberg, shut up.
Yeah.
If I could staple your lips together, I would.
That I know it was that one, but there might be another one where it was like every single scene he's just yada 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 yada. And it was like, oh my, like you whatever villain this was supposed to be, you've utterly like made him not menacing because you made him like a chatty girl. It's ridiculous.
So Dante knocks Dominic Toretto off the lane of the highway they're on onto the lower one, so he's now facing oncoming traffic as they're driving. And John Cena's driving up, and he goes, "Oh, my fuel line's been cut." My brother is correct. Every DC villain ever never shuts up. But his fuel line's been cut, Mark.
Mm-hmm. He's out of this race.
He's out of the race, but he can clear the way because there's a bunch of other guys coming at Dom. And he adjusts the rockets that he shoots so they point down, so he launches his car over the divide. And in a big fiery explosion, clears the way, and John Cena is now dead, except he'll probably be back in the next movie because it's the Fast and the Furious. Nobody stays dead.
When we tell you who's in the post-credit scene, no one ever dies in these things. Not for more than one movie.
There is one permanent death in the history of these stupid movies.
Mm-hmm.
They decided that Dominic Toretto's father is Uncle Ben. He can never come back, no matter what. Everyone else comes back.
Yeah. So John Cena may or may not have died in a fiery explosion.
I'm going to assume not.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the crash, and Dominic Toretto keeps driving, and he gets his kid back, and he's attacked by a couple of helicopters, and with the power of NOS, he crashes them together and then drags the chassis of these flaming helicopters behind him.
And he uses them as a morning star.
At high speed, without losing anything. Swings them around, hits a bunch of cars, gets his kid back, and all looks to be well. They drive up, they're going to the airfield where they can meet up with Alan Ritchson and the plane that they're going to get on, and they get onto a dam. They're driving across a causeway, a dam. And there's a semi-truck with a fuel tanker on one side. One pulls up behind them, and Dominic Toretto's spidey senses goes off. Something's not right here. And then Dante comes over there and goes, "Did you just hit me with a helicopter?
You brute."
Rude, you brute. And then, no, don't you understand, Dom? I am the author of all your pain. You're exactly where I wanted you to be, to watch the cargo plane carrying your 4 idiots. Comes in overhead, and Alan Ritchson shoots it out of the sky.
Dun, dun, dun. Alan Richard has betrayed. So the man that was on the bridge with his army of cops in a gunfight with Jason Momoa's army of goons, and they're murdering each other, and he takes a shot from a helicopter. But you see, it was me, Austin. It was me all along. I was on Jason Momoa's side the whole time.
He and Jason Momoa have been working together since Fast 5 and sharing all the steroid secrets, I would assume, because you only get that yolk with a little help.
All right. So we have a few people watching, and I haven't put up every comment because some of them they're just being funny, but they're not really adding anything. But I'm going to give Zach credit for this one. This one amused me. Fun fact, Albert Einstein and Isaac Newton wrote the original screenplay to this movie, but it was rewritten because it made too much sense.
So the
physics jokes, everybody.
The plane carrying... You know what? I have to say this now because this came across my timeline the other day. So the first time Albert Einstein met Charlie Chaplin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Einstein praised Chaplin. Like, what you do is genius because you don't use language. It's like silent film largely, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't use language, and yet everyone understands you. And Charlie Chaplin went, thank you, but your fame is much more impressive than mine because you're famous even though no one understands you.
Very witty, Charlie Chaplin.
So this plane, it's hit by the rocket, and it goes down behind a mountain, giving plenty of time for our heroes to make their grand escape for the sequel. And then the 2 fuel tankers charge at Dominic Toretto and his son. And he tells Dante, you made one mistake. You may have taken my fame and my money, but you should have taken my car. And he drives the car off the edge of the dam. The tankers hit and explode. And he drives down the sheer face of this dam, chased by the explosion. An almost sentient level of hellfire that chases these two.
You could see the mouth and the eyes in the fire.
As he drives down and off a ramp, and they just clear the rocks that are at the bottom of this thing.
My favorite part of this is when the fire mounted a hand and it tried to grab the car and just missed it.
It was so close.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And they land in the water and they climb out and they get together and the father and the son hug.
By the way, that editing was so bad.
You are not kidding.
They hit the water, you see the car sink, it hits a rock, and the next thing you know, the next hard cut is they're swimming to the top. They're almost to the surface level again. You don't ever see them get out of the car or how they got out of a car that is banged to shit and submerged in water and upside down face. But somehow we decide to skip all that and just no one cares how they got out of the car. We'll just cut to them getting out of it because we want to get to this last bit.
So he hugs his son down there we're going to figure this out. And Dante goes, well, you survived. Good for you. But I'm done making you suffer. Now I just want you to die. And he triggers the bombs that he has set along the edge of the dam because they're in the path now. And if that thing goes off, all that water and all that debris is just going to massacre these 2 idiots. And that's where we leave them. And then we cut to Charlize Theron and Michelle Rodriguez as they trudge across the wastelands of Antarctica until they crest a hill and behold a submarine that rises from the depths. And it's not Captain Nemo piloting it, it's Gal Gadot, who died in Fast.
Nobody ever dies. What is the line from Star Wars? No one ever really dies.
It was 6. It was 6.
Okay. What is the line from Star Wars that everyone makes fun of now?
No one's ever really gone.
Yeah, no one's ever. Yeah, the Fast and the Furious. No one's ever really gone.
And she's partially piloting this, and Charlize Theron looks over and goes, do you still think my plan sucks? And then we get a mid-credit scene where somewhere in the world, a very angry, bald, powerful, half black, half Samoan man enters a building. And he's informed by Dante that you were the one who killed my father. Prepare to die.
And The Rock says,
and The Rock
raises an eyebrow, and he says, do you smell what The Rock is cooking, and you hear the music as we fade to black.
And, well, no. He pulls off his mask to reveal who we already knew it was. And Dante calls him and says, "It was you, lawman. I'm coming for you. The devil's coming for you." And he just says, "Well, I'm not hard to find."
Between my other movies and my wrestling schedule and my destruction, my egotistical destruction of the DC universe, I'm quite busy.
"I'm not hard to find," and he crushes the phone in his hand. And we smash cut to
I'm
black.
not hard to find, just ask James Gunn.
And he crushes the phone, and we cut to black and tune in next year for the exciting conclusion, but not really the conclusion.
2025. We get a year off. Thank God.
I don't want to live with that sort of Damocles over my head. I'd really rather just get this over.
Now that it's 3 movies, I'm interested in seeing how the next one ends at Helm's Deep. And then
I mean, in all fairness, you're not wrong, because this is kind of like, normally you end the middle one at the darkest point. That's kind of where we are right now.
Right.
Unless they actually kill off characters, and they won't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
really waiting for the end of the trilogy where Dom goes into the West.
Look, the middle one ends with Dominic waking up from the Matrix.
And he sees all the people that he knows from, inside of his mind in a little snow globe.
And so the third one is him just wanting to go back.
Yeah. All right. I need to talk about Jason Momoa.
Worst.
So by the way, at the beginning of this, I was like, I said to Robert, "Hey, 90 minutes, right? We don't need more than 90 minutes to talk about this. We are an hour and 10 and just now getting to the actual crap."
Well, I mean, to be fair, we were like 25 minutes before we started talking about this movie in particular. So
fair. All right. John Cena and the kid's the best part of the movie.
Easily.
This is my opinion. Please don't yell at me and talk all over me. Let me get this out, because I got to talk about this. Jason Momoa was the most wildly entertaining part of this movie. If you weren't particularly entertained by him, that is a personal thing. But almost universally, everyone's come away with the most entertaining thing in this movie is Jason Momoa doing 1/3 Jack Sparrow, 1/3 Heath Ledger's Joker, and 1/3 Hugh Grant from The Gentleman.
That's a reference only you get.
So we were in our chat today, and you're going on about how much you hated the Jason Momoa character. And I'm like, essentially, like, they decided, you know what this movie needs? Gay heel pro wrestler as the villain. They essentially made Jason Momoa Gorgeous George, which is weird because in the year of our Lord 2023, no one boos Gorgeous George. He's like the leader of the parade.
Well.
But
it's not, his heat is not as universal, let's put it that way.
Vin Diesel has become a charisma black hole. Michelle
Always
Rodriguez never had charisma.
Also
and
true.
Everybody else just looks like tired and bored with this movie. And so the only one having any fun with it, the only one that has any life to him, the only one who's, when he's on screen, I'm actually interested in what he's doing, is Jason Momoa.
It's just a shame that what he's doing is so uninteresting.
Well, yeah, what they give him to do sucks, but his whole
talk to these corpses.
Yeah. So Jason Momoa, who, is seen things like Frontier and Aquaman as, surly and growling and swarthy, and just negative. And here he gets to be a clown. And he looks like he's having the time of his life. I don't know why you'd get Jason Momoa for this. Like, why not like a Sam Rockwell type if you want him to be silly and not actually engage in a fist fight with Dom? Like it made sense to have like guys like The Rock and Jason Statham because you want physical presences with, facing off in a fist fight with Vin Diesel. Jason Momoa doesn't really come face to face with Vin Diesel. And when he does, he gets his ass beat. He throws him into the car, he knocks his tooth out and all of that, which is hilarious, by the way. So again, if you want a foppish, half queer, silly comedian to be your...
You really should have hired Hugh Grant.
You should have just gotten Hugh Grant. Like, why are we doing it this way?
Even though Hugh Grant makes everything worse, I don't know that he could have made this movie worse.
Well, Johnny Depp also would have worked, because again, why did you want him to do fucking Jack Sparrow for some odd reason? Anyway, if you don't want like cool and menacing, I don't know why you would hire Jason Momoa.
I have to bring this up. This is a point I have about Jason Momoa in general, not just this role.
Mm-hmm.
For as big a guy as you think Jason Momoa is,
mm-hmm.
he has no menace. And that's
Yeah.
again, that's not just this movie. Like that's everything. Like you look at him and you think that should be an intimidating guy, right? Like there should be something there that makes you kind of pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
And it never actually comes across that way. I don't know what it is. Like I don't know if he's just too naturally affable a person for that level of. I mean, I remember watching him. One of his earlier roles, he was one of the series leads on one of the Stargate spinoffs. I think it was Atlantis.
Mm-hmm.
And he's meant to play the heavy, the kind of quiet, brooding, menacing heavy guy. And even then, it didn't work.
Yeah.
Like he was bigger than everyone, so there was some physical presence, but there was no menace.
Right.
Now
almost
you've got,
like if you want that like swarthy Greek, not off-white kind of person, like almost. But you basically, if you want Jason Momoa, but Jason Momoa doesn't work because of all the things you're talking about, you might have been better off with Roman Reigns. Who looks like a Jason Momoa stunt double.
Here's my thing. I think we're going to see more of this in the future because Roman's been pretty. Well, real name Joe Anawai. He's been pretty open about wanting to try Hollywood in the near future.
Yeah.
Here's my. I worry about that for the following reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like in wrestling, he is a fantastic actor, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I don't mean like for wrestlers he's a good actor because that's a different category.
Don't spend too long on this.
I'm not going to. But like in the realm of professional wrestling, Roman Reigns is the best actor in the world. Like by a mile, he's the best. I don't know how well that translates to acting.
20 years ago, you could have said the same thing about The Rock. And
I can still say the same thing about
and The Rock sucks so bad. Anyway, getting back to Jason Momoa, it was an odd choice, bold choice cotton to decide we have this, we have this large, muscly, figure. Let's have him be a comedian the entire time. Okay, fine. The thing of it was that everybody else is doing such nothing in this movie.
Yeah,
that
like
he's kind of. Hang on one second. He's fun to at least watch. Just a quick aside in things I'm getting tired of in these movies is the constant bickering between Tyrese and Ludacris. It's every movie. It stopped being funny 2 films ago.
3.
Yeah, and they don't look like they're having any fun with it either. It look like I feel like going into space together.
No, when they get into that slap fight in Pete Davidson's store, like that almost felt real. Like, boy, we're just.
Well, that's the thing. It was almost like the best thing they ever did was go into space together. Like that whole sequence is funny as shit. And then it was like, all right, we've done it now. And then almost like they didn't want to do this movie. So none of the stuff that's meant to be like, because the way it's written, it's like everything has built to this, and they finally had this explosion between the two of them. Because one of the things that's trying to pass for a B plot is Tyrese Gibson being tired of being the butt of every joke, and he wants to be the leader.
No. The leader. He wants to be the unit of. If he didn't say it that way explicitly twice, I wouldn't bring up that he just wants to be a unit of measurement.
Because I want to stay on point. I understand we're making fun of this terrible script, but his whole thing is, I'm tired of being the butt. I want to be respected for the gifts that I bring to this team.
Respect my authority.
And then you have Ludacris, who
he's just
tired of his shit. Yeah,
he's just tired of him.
And so, as the audience member, you're like, "Oh no, the friends, they're splitting." And you're like, as an audience member, though, and realistically, you're like, "Who gives a shit?" Number one, this is like 2 or 3 films too late for this sort of thing. We should have resolved this in 7. But anyway, I just to clean up with Jason Momoa, and then we can move on.
He benefits, to your point.
Mm-hmm.
He benefits by comparison to everything else being so boring in this movie.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think if everything was working, I'd be more annoyed by his fop performance. Unfortunately, his fop performance is about the only thing interesting in the movie.
It is the only memorable thing about this.
Mm-hmm. All right. I got to talk about a couple of scenes in here annoyed the living piss out of me. Brie Larson coming into the bar. Now, I had dinner with my parents at the Olive Garden because when you're there, you're family.
Uh-huh.
It annoys the living shit out of me that we are authentically Italian in my family, and yet my grandfather and my father both like eating at the Olive Garden. It hurts me as an Italian. Anyway,
sort of Italian.
Anyway,
depending on where the borders were on that particular end of the Italian country at any given point in time.
No, we're part Sicilian. I'm like authentically Italian. You're referring to my last name. That's the whole of the story. Anyway, I walked into the Olive Garden because when you're there, your family, and
Took off your pants.
and took off my shirt, had my dirty white beater on, smacked a waitress. So I'm walking around. I'm walking around the Olive Garden trying to find my parents.
Cried hugging the maitre d'.
Sang opera. So my parents like
We've created a more compelling skit than anything this movie did.
So sang Papa Don't Preach and shook Madonna. Anyway, my parents sent me a text. They're like, we're sitting here. And I kind of glanced at it. I'm like, it's the fucking Olive Garden, not the Vatican. I'll find you. It's fine. I did 2 laps and couldn't find my parents. And finally I looked at the text again and I'm like, let me see where I'm an old man.
Yeah.
Let me see what this says and see if I can find them that way, because I'm not finding them just by looking around the place. And I did. And I sat down. You know what I didn't do? Flash money in the air and demand someone tell me where someone in the bar is. That's Brie Larson's. She walks in the bar and she's like, I have a lot of money and I'll start paying for information. I need to know where I need to look for someone. The someone was over there. The someone was 2 feet from her. Like, it's a stupidly written scene when you're meant to believe that, like, because I'm thinking like she's there literally to look for information about where someone might be, because they might be anywhere in that particular country or that particular city. He's in the bar. She's looking for Dom. Dom is sitting there drinking, just kind of staring off into the middle distance. If she had taken a breath and looked around, she'd have found him faster than I found my parents at the Olive Garden, is my point.
If Brie Larson's middle name wasn't Karen, it would have been fine.
It's a stupid as shit scene.
It is.
It's an excuse to give her a fight scene, because essentially
Which
she walks in.
Okay, hang on. Let me do this real fast.
Yeah.
I'm more forgiving of the fight stuff with Charlize Theron and Michelle Rodriguez because I know it's them doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a couple of the more technical stunts that, okay, you use a stunt double for that.
Sure.
But for the most part, it is those two beating the crap out of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're both willing to do that.
Sure. Charlize Theron's been in any number of action movies where she was physical.
Yeah. I mean, you and I were both very complimentary of Atomic Blonde, just by way of example.
Oh my God, Atomic Blonde's amazing.
But Jordana Brewster and Brie Larson, it's painfully bad because it's cut to hell. Like,
yeah,
there's a million cuts trying to hide what's happening.
First of all, Jordana Brewster is 100. Number one. Number two, she's 90 pounds. I gotta
hang on. How do you get to she's 100?
Jordana Brewster was like, what, in her 20s when this whole thing started?
I don't know. You'd have to look it up. She's not 100. Hang on.
So Jordana Brewster is the same age as Helen Mirren.
That is absolutely not true. I will find this. You make your point about that scene.
All right. So that whole scene is a setup to give Brie Larson yet another action scene, because apparently she didn't have enough to meet the quota. It's written poorly. There's no reason for her to be in a fight. Like, she's in there, she's like, I'm looking for Dante Reyes, because she doesn't say that.
She's like, only 43. Shut up.
So anyway, so Brie Larson's like, I'm looking for someone, and then for no reason that I could discern in the movie, other than the plot said so, a bunch of ne'er-do-wells get up and like want to beat her up. They don't know who she's looking for or why she's looking for them. Why are they beating her up? And is everybody in? Is this one of those things where everyone's being paid by Jason Momoa at this point? The entire world works for Jason Momoa and is trying to kill Vin Diesel.
Well, look, Jason Momoa is running one of the 18 million secret organizations that have been shaping the world in the MCU for the last 800 years. Yeah. Who knows?
And then the sequence ends with her getting a shotgun from the bartender, blows a hole in the place, points it at everyone, goes, "Anyone want to fuck with me?" And they're like, "All right, we're done now," and then just gives them the shotgun back. Like, what?
It's really dumb. The dialogue in this movie is unbearable.
I said that this was a stunt show connected by poorly written dialogue by an 8-year-old boy.
You're not wrong. It's that bad.
Yeah. So anyway, I hated that sequence. It was unnecessary and dumb as shit. Her conversation with Dom, like, Brie Larson is an award nominated actress.
Winning. She won for Room.
Okay, award-winning actress. She's better than the dialogue reading she gives Dom in that scene where she's talking about, what do you need me to do for you? And he's like, get Letty out, and like she answers him back. It looks like she forgot her lines. Her lines are, "It's impossible." Like how do you give a performance that's so unbelievable? And I don't mean like I'm amazed. I mean like I don't believe you're that character.
You're Austin Theory. I don't believe anything you do.
Oh yeah, I don't believe anything you just said. I don't believe that's authentically you. You seem like an actress reading from a script. And I'm fairly certain there was a guy standing behind Dom with cue cards.
Cue cards, yeah.
Like
I don't think she
memorized her lines.
That's why the line reading is so awkward. They had the substitute guy holding the cue cards, so he couldn't move them aside in time with her usual cadence.
Yeah, there's no way she had that script memorized. Anyway, the next stupid thing was the bridge sequence, and I almost texted you during the middle of it, like because I've seen this twice. I saw it once with my girlfriend, and I just saw it this afternoon with my son, and like he loved it. But he's fucking 9. This was like meant for people like him, and I'm watching the bridge sequence. When you don't know, what's the actor's name again? Hawk,
Alan Ritchson.
Okay, when you don't know Alan Ritchson is in league with Jason Momoa, that scene makes still not a lot of sense, but it makes more sense than the reality of they have this massive gunfight in the middle of this bridge. For what reason, I'm not entirely sure. And by the way, Alan Ritchson's on Jason Momoa's side. Any of the things that happened in that sequence could have killed him. They're writing scenes just to write them with no reason or rhyme for why they're happening or why anything that follows in the film matches what you just did. It's as if you're doing the exercise where someone starts a story and then someone else continues that story, but there's but none of it has to match, and it doesn't. People just start adding stuff to the movie that doesn't track with what just happened because it's the laziest, most hackneyed. We need to create tension through misdirection and like twists I've seen in a long time, because we've watched a lot of movies, reviewed a lot of movies where they rely on twists and reveals and stuff, and it's bad. They threw it in there because they think that it is a hackneyed writing trick to put that stuff in your movie to create faux tension. This is the worst example I've ever seen of it in a long time. It's really poor. There. So the whole thing with the bridge sequence is it's a giant set piece so that Jason Momoa can hold Elena's sister as a hostage and lick her face for no good reason.
Which then turns into, no, I was actually trying to get Brie Larson to show up so I can steal the... Look, I've defended the occasional sort of allegedly convoluted scheme.
Yeah, the CIA knew the FBI was setting up the DEA.
Well, look, let me give you an example of that. People struggle following like the Joker's plot from The Dark Knight.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of people I know who go, none of this makes any sense. There's so many places where he needs something to happen.
Yeah, I made that argument on Long Road to Ruin with Samer, where I was like, if that doesn't go exactly according to plan, there is no plan.
Well, I defend the Jokers in that case because I can easily see the contingencies.
Sure. Okay, fine.
Like there's, and again, so that one I can understand. Like, wait, so he wanted to get locked up? Well, he either got locked up or he got to figure out who Batman was. Kind of win-win, right?
Right.
Well, then he he needed to lock him up in that particular area. Well, that makes sense. Like that's a fairly logical conclusion.
Well, where else were they going to lock him
up?
Yeah.
So again, there's a bunch of them that it's not as convoluted as you think it is when you understand alternate win conditions for the plan. Then that's Joker in The Dark Knight. He's like, I've got 18 ways I can win. We took this path instead of this one or this one or this one.
His ability to pivot is what makes that believable.
Yeah. I don't know what anything is. The entire stupid movie was allegedly to get everyone into this one like canyon in Portugal.
Well, that's the thing. Like, well, what if he had blown them up at the Vatican? He'd have gotten everybody. Like, if that bomb goes off at the Vatican, it would have killed the entire team.
Can I also say...
And Jason Momoa.
Yeah, that's the biggest... like, He actually needs Dom to succeed there because he's well within the blast radius.
Yeah, right.
If
So this stunt is that, and it's a brilliant stunt. Like if there's one other thing besides John Cena and Jason Momoa that is fun about this movie is the stunts do look pretty cool.
They're trying to get this bomb into the Tiber River because in theory, if it falls deep enough into the river, the explosion will be, and the negative side effects of the explosion will be dampened.
Dom launches his car into a crane, and the crane acts as a bat. The bat hits the ball into the river. That's the sequence. But what if in an alternate universe, Dom launches his car and a squad of geese fly into him and knock him off the path he's in, and doesn't hit the crane, or somehow fucks up the angle?
Or
Jason misses the crane entirely.
Or Jason Momoa starts the countdown 2 seconds earlier.
Right.
Like then that bomb goes off on the bridge.
What if we had a particularly vicious Italian cop on that squad, and they rammed this poor guy's car, and he goes careening into the goddamn river?
Yeah, and then if that bomb goes off on the surface, it would kill Jason Momoa. He's within the blast.
Yeah, it would have been a Daffy Duck moment. It was just like, that was brilliant, Jason Momoa. Yeah, but I can only do it once.
I don't mind trying to track villains who have intricate plans or again layers to their plans. I think that's, if you can make that work, it's good writing for your villain.
Wildly stupid. And your point about
dumb.
This entire elaborate shootout and car chase was to goad Brie Larson out of hiding so she'd bring the God's Eye with her.
We don't know where she was.
And we didn't know she had the God's Eye either.
No, they knew that.
Oh, I fucking missed it then, because when she pulled it, when he's like, where's the God's Eye? And it's like, it just picks her pocket and takes it. I was like, oh, that's still a thing in this movie?
She stole it from the agency when she went to see Alan Ritchson at the beginning, and he knew that she had it. Okay. Well, he knew she had taken it. He didn't know it was physically on her.
It's one of those.
It's dumb. It's still dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got to get Brie Larson out of hiding because she has.
Wait a minute, was there no other way to get at Brie Larson? Like attack her when she's in the shower or something? Like,
I don't know. Apparently not.
Why did we need to create a giant gunfight for this?
And we're gonna have a street race.
Have someone follow her when she's buying bread at the grocery store, for God's sake.
Here's my other thing about this, and
what if it wasn't on her? What if it's in a hole?
She should put it in a safety deposit box somewhere. I sealed it in concrete and sunk it in the ocean. Good luck.
Yeah, I shoved it up of someone's ass at San Quentin fucking prison. Like, I don't know, there was no interrogation of where it might be either. It was literally like, where is it? I don't know.
She says, he just grabs it. She says, I don't know, and he jams his thumb into her paper cut, and she goes, ah! And he goes, oh, wait, look, there it is.
Right. So again, I say, had she been not an idiot and put it somewhere else, he didn't ask her where it was necessarily. Or like torture her. It was literally, it's there. I see it.
It's
what is the point of any of this?
And this is kind of like the theory that I want to make you suffer before I kill you. Like, I can kind of get behind that. I think
if it was written smarter, like if he was attacking these people individually and discrediting them, and and the way to a smarter person writes this movie where his team turns on Dom. They break this family up by creating tension, derision, mistrust, and his family breaks apart naturally. Not he kills them from one scene to the next.
And then Jason Momoa comes in at the end and goes, "It was me. I'm the author of all your pain."
Right.
My problem is they already did that basically with Fate, where Dom turned on them. Like, I mean, but this movie's all about rehashing, so who knows?
Yeah.
I have two major gripes with this. One, there's this sort of like meant to be quasi-reflective scene where they look on the destruction of Rome. Like, oh man, look at what we did. And I couldn't help but think about Fast 9. Mark, where they drive with the powerful magnets in the car down a very populated street.
Magnets? How the fuck do they work?
And Dom pulls cars out of parking garages.
Right.
And there's the giant impregnable, like, mobile tank with with Francis Ngannou in the back
Right.
that they blow up, ride sideways down the hill of they wipe out skyscrapers with this thing, but this is our moment for reflection.
Yeah. You know,
These
there was
movies
a scene, I don't remember which movie, it's the one with Ronda Rousey, where they're driving through the skyscrapers and
when Dom does the 9/11.
Yeah, and him and Paul Walker like drive from one building to the next.
I think that's 7 that's 7 when they go out of the skyscraper. And they do the terrorist thing. They crash into the building.
Right. That's their getaway, is they go from one building to the next immediate building to the next immediate building, and then they just drive down the stairs and into the west. Hang on, their moment of reflection. They once again, Fast 5, they took an entire vault and
they killed people.
They smashed Rio de Janeiro with it.
People died doing that. I would you do that in real life or something approximating it. People die.
And now we're gonna take a moment and go, maybe we've made 1 or 2 errors.
These movies are so dumb.
Yeah.
And have tried to raise the stakes so often that
I watched this movie twice and fell asleep both times.
Not only have you lost the ability to build tension, everything you've done becomes boring.
Yeah.
And this isn't something you can solve by going bigger. Bigger doesn't solve this problem.
Right. So I guarantee, look, there are people in our chat. There are our friends, and we should be nice to our friends.
Should we?
Yes, you asshole. And here's what I'm going to tell you.
Says the guy making me watch The Idol.
spending time with your partner. That's what that is. So anyway, we hear you. We're being hypercritical about this movie, but that's damn you, Hollywood. If I had to rename the show, it's Neckbeards Are Hypercritical. Like, that's what we do. This whole conversation is us being hypercritical about this movie. The Critical Drinker probably said it best, and it's a reflection of the reaction a lot of our friends had to this movie. It is currently the reigning champion of turn your brain off and don't think, just enjoy. And that's valid. And for people who are able to do that and had that joy in their life, good for you. This movie doesn't stand up under even the slightest scrutiny. But I get that people are like not scrutinizing the movie. However, if you're going to have a conversation about this movie and start to scrutinize it, this is what comes out of it. And either accept that or don't. But I'm acknowledging people probably just enjoyed the pornography for the tits and ass that it was. Allow us to enjoy tearing it to fucking pieces because it's hot garbage.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to insult anyone for enjoying this movie. I get it. I do. But again, like, this is a boring movie, and that might seem weird considering all the action, but no tension.
Right.
It's all, even in this, like, oh no, John Cena's dead. Like, we've reached the point with this franchise where you could kill him in the fiery explosion, and we all collectively shrug.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, that was the thing. It was like, in a better movie with stuff like where things like that are handled. When Chewbacca did the fake out death in Rise of Skywalker, everybody in the theater, not named you, had a collective gasp. That's what made that so awful for most of us, was you actually got us to bite on a death in that movie of a beloved character. It immediately took it away. And
yeah, they should have just killed Chewbacca.
They really should have.
But
here,
Jar Jar Abrams has no balls.
Here you kill, and it was so funny because my son said the same thing because he didn't realize that this was like part 1 of 3 or 2, depending on what decisions they've made at this point.
Yeah.
So he didn't know that there was going to be another part to this. That this is just the first part of the story.
The cliffhanger.
So he goes, I thought it was a really bold choice. They killed half the characters in this movie.
Did you point and laugh at him?
No, because he's my son and he just didn't have all the information, you bully. However,
let me tell you if there's going to be another one. So what does that make you think happens?
Yeah, but more to the point, he questioned it as a bold choice to kill off your main characters at the end of the movie and leave it the way that they did, not knowing there'd be more to this. He also didn't bite. He didn't, like, what was the last thing I saw where someone kills a dog and my son went to pieces? Like that upset him. This one, like
I don't know,
we killed John.
What did you see recently that had a dog die? There's been a couple.
I can't remember, or maybe I was telling him about John Wick or something. And he was like, "No, not the dog." I don't remember, but like he had a visceral reaction to something I showed him. And here he watched John Cena, Tyrese, Ludacris, Ramsey, and Han all get killed within a matter of minutes of each other, and he went, "So, are we going to get Chinese buffet or not?" Like that's it. Like that was the reaction. If you can't get the 9-year-old to bite on death, you have written a poor movie and you've mishandled this franchise. That is the last thing I'm going to say about it.
And again, like this, if there was going to be a movie that could have theoretically reintroduced stakes, reintroduced tension, it would have been this one, right? You've got the murderous guy connected to your past who's out for vengeance and who wants to kill people. But the only deaths in this franchise that stick are, again, Old Man Toretto and the real life death of Paul Walker. Like, that's it.
How many times have they introduced a villain that was a relative of someone who died in a previous movie and their plot was revenge? Because that's Jason Statham.
His brother didn't die, but yeah, okay.
And Charlize Theron was acting independently.
Yeah.
God is my witness. I don't remember. I mean, The Rock was the villain in 1, but he was the one chasing Dom.
Well, that was 5. He was the villain in 5. Yeah, he's chasing Dom. No, John Cena is Dominic Toretto's brother in 9, and that's the genesis of their feud.
Yeah, but I don't think it was revenge. I think it was more like
sort of revenge.
I'm in your Okay, well, but the exact setup being you killed my father, brother, mother, sister. I'm your mother and your sister.
Prepare to die.
I'm out for revenge. Because that's Jason Momoa, Jason Statham. Who else? Not John Cena, not Charlize Theron. And I think now we're out of villains.
There's sort of one in... I can't remember.
Who's the villain, though?
Hang on. I can't remember if it's like where it comes up, but there's another one that... All right. Briefly plays into that. It doesn't matter.
Well, you're talking about like just repeating and hackneyed things. This is literally Jason Statham's character.
Again, yeah.
Anything else before we move on?
Again, it's boring. There's a lot of retreads. What did I have? Okay, last thing, because this franchise does this and I hate it. I have come to very much hate the trope of the big bad guy from the last season becoming your best friend the next.
Mm-hmm.
This was now when handled well, big caveat there, it can be an effective trope, right?
Sure.
I think Dragon Ball was the first one I saw that was not Dragon Ball Z, but like the original Dragon Ball was real guilty of this. Like Goku would fight in a martial arts tournament and have a rivalry with, Yamcha or Tien or somebody, and then like they have their big fight, and then so you want to come train? Yeah, okay. And then they become buddies, and you amass a following like this, and then except as soon as they become your friend, everything that made them awesome and like a danger to you goes away. So they're kind of useless. Another thing that Alan Ritchson's character mentions, like, yeah, everyone that comes into contact with these people winds up their friend. They show up and they help out, and then next thing you know, they're in the barbecue in Southern California, sipping on a Corona, and they've lost all sense of self and duty and honor, and they're just, and it's just, I don't like it as a trope in general. It's really dumb here. Like, now we're going to be pals with Cypher for the next movie. Because it's not like she, again, violently murdered Elena, that might be the only other death that sticks, actually, is Elena. Because if she comes back, then she's the actual mother to Dominic's kid. And then, so
well, they're talking about spin-off, so maybe they're thinking of a movie where Elena's chasing Letty the entire time.
I don't know.
Maybe it's kind of a Kramer versus Kramer thing, but they're fighting over the kid. in a car at high speed.
Yeah, and then they have the ladder match for custody, and then Vicky Guerrero misses her spot to come out. And,
perfect.
and then the kid grows up to be a shithead.
And date a goth girl from Australia.
Not actually dating her. Dude, I noticed something about
No.
Minor thing, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Anytime he has to talk, nuclear heat, right?
Mm-hmm.
The second he has to wrestle, it goes away. Like
Yeah,
unless he's in the ring with Ray, it evaporates. Like nobody cares about anything he does.
Fast X.
Also, we all know that Rhea Ripley's actually dating Buddy Matthews, so. Okay. So I don't like that trope as a general rule. I'd like it even less when it's handled poorly, and this is handled very poorly. Because our super tech terrorist Cypher, Charlize Theron, is going to be our bestest friend in the world, while she and Gal Gadot and Michelle Rodriguez have girl time and mimosas in the nuclear sub as they're traveling from Antarctica to...
I can't wait for the Gal Gadot, Charlize Theron, and Michelle Rodriguez to have their girls get it done moment. I hope they're wearing costumes. And
then as they're doing their poses, Brie Larson runs them all over because it's in her contract.
In her Captain Marvel costume.
And yeah, this is a franchise that is beyond parody. It is beyond... Like, one of my gripes with this, and this is a writing thing and a structure thing, they do a lot of callbacks in this movie. A lot. The problem is I don't think there's any nostalgia attached to this franchise. It comes out and people go see it to be entertained, and there's nothing wrong with this, okay? But understand what's going on here. This is a transactional relationship. This movie, this ticket, we're done. Nobody sits around going, boy, remember the good old days of the previous Fast movie?
We've reviewed all of these movies. We've done podcasts, and I've gone back and listened to them, and we still can't get the details right.
Yeah, because no one cares. Like, again, entertaining movie, if this is what you want out of a movie, fair. Not knocking it, or not knocking you for that. But there's no fandom here in the fanatical sense. There's no nostalgia to tread on. Like, oh, remember the police station? Nobody cares. Half your audience didn't even see Fast 5. Tell me I'm wrong.
You know that's in theaters right now, Fast 5.
Whatever. I don't care. This is a franchise that makes money based on the individual transaction. It's almost not a franchise in the traditional sense of those, right? Like, there's no fan base. There's just people who see that, oh, all right, I'll go see the movie.
You know what you're getting with a Fast and the Furious movie. So a Fast and the Furious movie comes out. You see the trailer for it. You see the commercial. You decide you're going to leave your house and go to the movies. This is the safest of safe bets. This is going to McDonald's. If you go to McDonald's and you order a Big Mac, it's the same Big Mac every time. It's not going to be different from one McDonald's to the next. The quality is always going to be the same. You can rest assured, and your anxiety will dissipate if you go to any McDonald's anywhere in the world and order a Big Mac. It's going to be the same Big Mac you order anywhere else in the world. That is the Fast and the Furious franchise. Every one of these movies, to one degree or another, is going to be consistently the exact same thing you want it to be. It's going to be, as Drinker put it, fast cars, muscly men, hot chicks, crazy stunts. Bang, Bob's your uncle, and you're out.
If only they'd had attractive women in this movie.
And on that note, here it is.
So, yeah, this...
Here comes the money.
We're in the money. We're in the money.
All right. I don't know why I repeated there.
Not surprising.
So, on a budget of $340 million.
Wait. $340 million.
I have something I need to share with you. Let me get through. Let me do my part.
Crap.
Yeah. On a budget of $340 million, this thing in its opening weekend made $323.7 million as we record this on the Tuesday after. Fast X premiered at the Space Cinema in Rome. I'll bet it did. On May 12th, 2023. It was released in several countries across Europe and South America on May 17th, and then in the US on May 19th by Universal Pictures. The film received mixed reviews from critics who praised Momoa's performance but criticized its writing. The film grossed $323 million worldwide, becoming the 6th highest grossing film of 2023. Its sequel is scheduled to be released in 2025, while a 12th film is in development. That's not what I wanted to read you. Here's what I wanted to read you.
Please don't develop 12.
Hang on, I just lost it. But here is actually what I wanted to read you, though. With an estimated production budget of $340 million, it is the 8th most expensive film ever made. Filming lasted until that August, taking place in London, Rome, Turin, Lisbon, and Los Angeles.
Also, let's be very clear about something. Movies generally go about 50 million over budget, so this thing's probably closer to 400 if we're being honest.
So the list goes like this. The number one most expensive movie to make of all time currently, unadjusted for inflation, according to the Wikipedia link that I'm looking at. Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
That tracks.
Then Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, Avengers: Age of Ultron, Avengers: Endgame, Avatar: The Way of Water, and now Fast X, sandwiched between that and Avengers: Infinity War. And there's a 3-way tie, just in case anyone's curious, at 10th place for Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, what's that movie, Justice League, and Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
And entering into this conversation in about 3 weeks, Indiana Jones 5, with its $350 million monstrosity.
2023, the year Hollywood goes bankrupt. All of it.
Yeah, again, I'll save the Indy 5 talk for Indy 5, but when we review that movie, we have to talk about the production nightmare. We have to.
Well, I don't think there's going to be a lot to talk about with the film other than it sucks. All right, number one for the weekend, Fast X in its debut. Not Guardian. We said this was going to happen, that 3 weeks in, Guardians was going to drop. It dropped from 1 to 2. If you want to give 20 words on the week-to-week drop, because in 2 weeks, it dropped less than 50%.
Well, it's dropped more than that when it's all said and done, but it dropped less than 50 in its first week, and it dropped another less than 50 in its second.
That's what I just said, yes.
Well, that's not the same as dropping less than 50% from the first week. So.
No, you're being way semantic.
We're talking about percentages of different points. It matters. Hang on. So, decent enough hold for Guardians. I expect next week is when its more serious drop comes.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, we're in the 3rd week next time, and I still don't think it's going to do bad. But what comes out? What comes out?
In the 4th week? Well, this Friday is Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, Little Mermaid will win its weekend and then be prompted about
70% drop for that thing. It's
first ever 100% drop.
I would pop.
I don't use the crowd thing because in case I want to cut the scene from this podcast, if I use the crowd thing that I have, the crowd button, it dings copyright for whatever reason on TikTok, so I don't use it that much anymore. But yeah, if Little Mermaid drops like 90%, I will like do a I will cut together a new applause, like just a super cut of applauses. Anyway, Super Mario, which is now PVOD, dropped from 2 to 3. Book Club dropped from 3 to 4. Evil Dead Rise 4 to 5. John Wick jumped up a spot for some odd reason. 7 to 6. Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Dropped from 5 to 7. Hypnotic, Not the Alcohol, dropped from 6 to 8. Love Again dropped from 8 to 9. And Dungeons and Dragons maintained its spot at number 10, 8 weeks out, which is also now, I believe, either on PVOD or Paramount Plus.
It's on Paramount Plus.
Guy Ritchie's The Covenant stayed at number 11. We already talked about how much of a bomb that is. Blackberry, in its second week, jumped 2 places from 14 to 12. I saw it. I enjoyed it. I think I talked about that last week. Air dropped from 9 to 13, currently on Amazon Prime. Master Gardener debuted at 14. Sanctuary debuted at 24. Moon 37. The Night of 12. 40. The Cow Who Sang a Song Into the Future. That's number 42. And that was the weekend that was. All right, worldwide. The Super Mario Brothers is currently the only movie in the world to crack $1 billion. It's number 1.
I'm not going to say it's the only movie all year that cracks $1 billion, but I'm starting to think Guardians doesn't.
Guardians is currently at 664, so right now it's the only movie with a shot.
Again, like Guardians is probably going to peter out around 700. Well, like that 750.
Right. Ant-Man dropping to number 3 with 475, and I'm sure will drop precipitously as the summer continues. John Wick, 427 also. Fast X making its debut in the worldwide box office with 323 million at number 5. Creed 6, Dungeons & Dragons 7, Scream 8, Evil Dead Rise 9, and Shazam! Fury of the Gods tops out the top 10 at 133 million.
Wait. Can we all have a moment? In the year of our Lord 2023, the Evil Dead movie beat the DC movie. Evil Dead, more money than Shazam.
All right.
We don't live in the worst timeline.
Well, Cocaine Bear finally made more money than Titanic, which is good. That makes me happy. But here are the movies currently doing worse than the 25-year-old Titanic.
Hey, hold on. The Pope's Exorcist bumped up above Titanic, so good for it.
Yes. 65 because Adam Driver is not a star. Magic Mike's Last Dance, Demon Slayer, Knock the Cabin, Money's Jesus Revolution, Plane, Missing, Asterix and Obelix, 80 for Brady, Operation Fortune, Right On, and Alibi.com too. And then after that, who cares?
Yeah, we're gonna have to retire that as the year goes on. I think that's gonna get less and less funny.
Yeah. This week, May 26th, is The Little Mermaid. That'll win its weekend.
Oh yeah.
June 2nd, my birthday, is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I'm actually going to pull up the calendar because there's some competition as the year is going on. So one of the movies also debuting this Friday is The Machine with Bert Kreischer, and that got a fair amount of marketing. I mean, I've been seeing trailers for it. I saw him in concert not that long ago, and he was talking about it, and he showed the trailer there.
Okay, so hang on very briefly about this. I don't know why we decided like 9 years after that clip on like Facebook and whatnot of him telling that story as his stand-up went viral, we're making this movie. But shirtless Bert Kreischer was, I don't know how much he paid the UFC for this, but part of their advertisement was to be on the UFC. So he's on the posts, like the corner post of the octagon. Is a shirtless Bert Kreischer in that smiling. And I couldn't help I don't know why it was at that moment that it really crystallized to me. But, you know, fighters can't have their own sponsors in the cage because we're worried about their look of professionalism. But a shirtless fat guy with the Corona logo below him, the Modelo logo below him, a Monster Energy drink logo off to the side, Logan Paul's Prime Energy drink above him, like back on this post over here, and his face in the shirt. Like, I don't know why this was the moment that kind of crystallized to me, but anyone who parroted that line about, no, we want to clean up the image and the look of the UFC, my guys, you got sold.
All right. So Little Mermaid, not a tremendous amount of competition. However, June 2nd, we've got Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse against the horror movie coming out of Disney through 20th Century Studios, The Boogeyman, which is getting a fair amount of trailer.
No. Spider-Man's going to win that weekend.
I know it will, but I'm just thinking like the summer got loaded up with a lot of counter programming. That was one of the things I noticed. Yeah. The 9th is Transformers, but that's it. And then the big one, the 16th is like,
can I just ask?
I understand counter programming, but June 16th makes no fucking sense to me. The Flash, Elemental, Asteroid.
Scroll down.
I'm reading off the wiki because Box Office Mojo, as we know, doesn't always get this right. But as a matter of fact, I'm just gonna stop sharing. So we have the Flash, Elemental, Asteroid City, and the Blackening, which, you know, we're gonna get to it later in the year, as you know, when it's streaming somewhere as part of a triple feature. But like that is a loaded on fucking day. Is there a reason why we had to have Asteroid City and the Blackening the same day as the Flash and Elemental?
Why not?
Because no one's gonna see them.
No one's gonna see them anyway.
But Asteroid City actually looks good. Have you seen the cast for Asteroid City?
I've seen the trailers for it. Yeah, I know.
Wes Anderson with the following 97 people: Jason Schwartzman,
Scarlett
Johansson, Tom Hanks, Jeffrey Wright, Tilda Swinton.
I just need to say this out loud so you understand me.
Margot Robbie, William Dafoe.
Mark, look at me. I don't like Wes Anderson movies.
Okay. So your brother is just like loading up comments here. Woo, cocaine better. Worst timeline and woo the boogeyman. Okay, thank you, sir. Yeah, I don't know, whatever. Then we have No Hard Feelings, which my wife.
Okay, whoa, hang on.
It looks hilarious.
Just stop for half a second.
Mm-hmm.
You want someone to review The Blackening with you?
It's gonna be you and Alexis, as a matter of
The
fact.
hell it is.
Like, it's gonna be the same triple feature as Five Nights at Freddy's. Then watch us review it.
Okay, you look, man. I try real hard not to get us in trouble.
No. I didn't connect it until just now. Don't see it. Just be quiet for the 20 minutes we're gonna talk about it.
Okay.
Or go see it, because that's even funnier to me. But
dude, why would I want to see that?
You wouldn't, but I do, and it's a horror movie, so I thought it would be a good thing to connect to Five Nights at Freddy's.
You have the weirdest brain in terms of how.
All right, and then Indiana Jones there's no competition.
Yeah, okay, hang on. If you were gonna bump one of those, I'd move Asteroid City to open opposite Indy.
Yeah, no,
that's what I would have done.
I would agree with you. Then you have Insidious, The Red Door. Not a whole lot of other competition there. Nothing the week of fucking Mission Impossible. Nothing at all.
Look, if you're gonna get out of the way of one of them, that would be the one to get out of the way of.
Yeah, that's. I mean, if we were talking about movies that might crack $1 billion this year,
they really should have. No, they really should have put The Blackening up against Mission Impossible. That's
sure. And then we have the 20. And then we have the 21st, which is we have Oppenheimer versus Barbie in the WrestleMania main event of the summer.
No.
So,
dude, I saw the runtime for Oppenheimer.
It's like 97 hours. I know.
No, it's not Killers of the Flower Moon. That, but it's close to 3. It's close.
Haunted Mansion's running unopposed, more or less, and then
no one cares.
Oh, they moved the Meg. Oh, that's it. They moved Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles back 2 days, but it was on the same day as Meg. You have Gran Turismo and The Last Voyage of Demeter up against each other.
You just say Demeter properly.
Diameter. And then Blue Beetle and Strays, though that doesn't really attract the same audience. And then that's it. That's the end of the summer.
Also, hang on. Did you say a No Hard Feelings looks funny?
My wife wants me to take her to go see that. She thinks it looks hilarious. And
hang on.
Hang on. I'm gonna defend the No Hard Feelings thing on this. This is my one and only defense of No Hard Feelings. Long are the days gone of the sex comedy.
The raunchy sex comedy.
Sex comedy.
You have lamented its demise many a time.
Yeah.
So you're just this is the closest thing you're gonna get to it, and
yep. I'll take it. I don't find Jennifer Lawrence, now that she's gotten the twattiness out of her post X-Men, to be awful. We get enough of that with Brie Larson. So Jennifer Lawrence in a raunchy sex comedy works for me. Not that she's my dream girl. She's not Selma Hayek.
Well, but Oh, dude. Okay, I don't do this very often because I find. I don't want to insult anyone who does this on the network or when we do this publicly. All of you people like discussing the attractiveness of individuals. I don't participate in that as a general rule.
Right, it's not your thing.
But there was a thing. There was a clip that got floated on Twitter the other day of Selma Hayek. That woman is 57.
Yeah, she does not age.
And I got because the tweet was, at no point in my life has this woman not been attractive.
Yeah, she's as gorgeous in Eternals as she is in Desperado.
Different way, but yeah,
20 fucking year difference, by the way.
Yeah, like 30. So closer to 30.
I was gonna
closer to 30.
Yeah,
a lot closer to 30. But like that, that is a woman who has been attractive like my entire life.
Yeah, if she ever goes Goldie Hawn, I might kill myself. And on that note,
but anyway, like, so sorry. To round that back,
yeah.
you find Jennifer Lawrence attractive enough?
I mean,
okay.
Look, I'm being asked to accept her as an attractive enough woman in a premise where she has to unnerd a nerd. It's fine.
I'm just going to say that him rejecting Jennifer Lawrence makes more sense than a lot of other women they could have cast.
Fine. Never let it be said that you and I have the same taste in women either. So with that said...
Oh, come on. You really want to pretend that's news?
Here we are, the critical review.
Are you ready? No! I said... Are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
And there it is, folks. That is Mark and Robert screaming into the ether.
That's about right.
Yep. I can't even be like, this is why we don't have nice things. Nobody wants nice things. Everyone's happy to sit and eat shit. It's fine.
Well, okay, hang on. Here's the thing about this.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the time we look at these divides and we go, okay, one of these things is wildly out of whack.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think either side is out of whack here. Like, if you
I think if anyone that pays attention to film craft knows this is garbage, and everyone that doesn't,
and if you just
thinks it's great.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like, this movie doesn't pretend to be anything else. So this is one of those times when the divide tracks.
Yep. As irredeemably silly as it is satisfyingly self-aware, Fast X should rev the engines of longtime fans while leaving many newcomers in neutral.
Okay, okay, hang on.
Thank you, ChatGPT.
How are we pretending that there are longtime fans of this franchise? There's like 3 of them.
All right.
Again, plenty of people see the movies, but that doesn't make you a fan of the property.
Okay, Odie, for your reference podcast, clearly trying to get a job at Universal or with the production company, successfully upholds the Fast and Furious franchise's legacy with expertly choreographed, high-octane action, an exhilarating cinematic experience thoroughly engaging.
You are trying to get on the DVD cover, and Mark fell asleep twice.
Yep. Nick Johnson of Vanyaland. What Fast X embodies is the often goofy amiability of the American blockbuster and the innate charm that still gives it global appeal without the requisite amount of compromise that may assume it may need in our world-spanning modern cinema.
That is a word salad near the end, sir. I get what you're trying to say, but you needed to give that another pass.
Yeah, maybe a period or two. Speaking of periods or two, Christy Puchko of Mashable, top critic.
We're just went from insulting how women looked and Mark referencing the menstrual cycle.
No one watches my podcast for my feminist opinions. This is what summer
the irony being some of the fights we've gotten into.
Yeah, really. This is what summer movies should be. It's spectacular. It's thrilling. And it's the kind of movie you can't wait to yammer about to your friends. Truly, I walked out of Fast X. Hang on. Truly, I walked out of Fast X with a big Momoa smile on my face so wide it hurt. Ma'am, we don't care about your fantasies about blowing the guy. Just review the movie. Yeah,
no one cares about you fetishizing the actors. Mark, were you just excited to tell your friends about Fast X?
Not in the least bit.
I only brought this movie is so dumb it's good I was wearing a hat because my brain tried to chew its way through the top of my skull to escape.
Vincent Mancini of Film Drunk. Discount action movie slurry.
Those are in fact words.
Outstanding.
I'm going to assume that was a poorly selected excerpt from his review.
All right. Michael Compton of the Bowling Green Daily News. I don't believe that's an actual paper. Is Fast X a good movie? Probably not. But is it a good time that delivers exactly what the audience wants? Most definitely.
Are you one of these idiots who ask questions in your writing so you can answer them? Clearly you are.
Dana Han Klein of What We're Watching podcast. It is 3 different movies at once, all lacking in logic, plot, and coherent character development. Yet somehow still a campy, fun ride. Momoa makes for a flamboyant injection of life. Action-wise, the set pieces failed to meet the bar set by previous entries.
And yet somehow you still feel all of that warrants a very positive review. Oh, you found a friend. Mark,
found
isn't
our
it
friend.
good to have friends?
And you should treat your friends very well, and they will treat you well. Kevin Carr, Fat Guy
That's
at
the
the
guy
Movies.
making me watch The Idol.
This is by far the most ridiculous installment in the Fast and the Furious franchise. And
Probably
remember, they
so.
drove a car into space in the last one.
You
You're
know,
not wrong, Kevin.
I think that was kind of the same point I made. Like,
Yeah.
somehow, I think it's because everything matters less and just feels dumber.
Yeah. Let's see. Damon Fudge giving us an excerpt from his blog at KCCI Des Moines, Iowa. Despite its flaws, I, as a big fan of the entire Fast saga, still had a lot of fun.
I defy you to tell me. I defy you to tell me anything about the franchise beyond the movie you just saw. I defy you.
Chris Wagner of former magazine Rolling Stone, top critic. It would be okay if Fast X were merely loud and dumb. That much is to be expected. The problem is that it's also achingly mechanical. It's all car and no driver.
That is a very tortured metaphor. Not entirely sure it's an accurate one either.
John Urbanich of JM Movies. Even with 4 Oscar winners, Furious action rules one more time. You know, I could probably name, if I try hard enough, 10 shit movies with Oscar winners in them.
I can name a lot more than that.
I mean, Robert De Niro has been in quite a number of stinkers.
Yes, he has. So's Al Pacino, for that matter.
Yeah.
As a brief aside, though, he does raise a decent point about the sheer quantity of them in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't just have, like, actors who won their Oscar and then fell off a cliff and stopped caring. Like, you packed an impressive number of them in here and still managed to suck it up.
They say you do one for yourself and one for the business. I believe everyone did this one for the business and brought their business game. Jeffrey, friend of the show, Jeffrey Harris of 401mania.com.
Hey, Jeff.
Fast X takes the franchise much closer to unappealing self-parody, and after many years of expertly walking a tenuous tightrope, Jason Momoa delights in a clunky, messy, overstuffed, and bloated plot.
He is not wrong.
John Yagin of Nerd Reactor. Nerd Reactor.
Why do you hurt me that way?
John Nguyen.
It's pronounced Win.
How the fuck would I know that, nerd?
You Philistine.
John Wynn of Nerd Reactor.
I believe it's Vietnamese. That's Win.
I just eat their food. And occasionally make fun of their war. At least it knows it's a silly movie. It's true.
How is that a helpful review?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if the rest of his review is helpful, but that certainly wasn't. Kyle Smith of the Wall Street Journal, top critic, former paper. Creatively speaking, the fuel gauge is pointing to E and the engines are sputtering.
A point that we both agreed with, but you just had to make the be better, man.
Yeah.
Why are you writing that?
Professional writers. Brandon Avery of Just My Opinion reviews. Fast X was far superior than Part 9. Still ridiculous, wild, over the top, and random. Not even sure the plot makes sense with so much thrown at the screen. All considered, I still had a fun blast. Thank you for sharing with us your blog.
Is English your second language?
James Vernier of the Boston
Herald. Of that doesn't work as English wise.
Dim-witted takes on the Godfather films with street races instead of gangsters.
How do you get to this?
I can't. Nope. I'm done now.
How do you arrive at the Godfather here? Like, in all seriousness, how?
Jesus,
of all the movies, of all the comparisons,
a high octane take on American Beauty. It's the last movie I saw.
Like, that's what that feels like. Like, there's no reason for that comparison to be made.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
He didn't know what to say, and so he just could have looked at his DVD shelf and saw the Godfather trilogy.
I sure makes as much sense as anything else.
All right. So I got one more show this week. Evan Bevins and I are doing Cowboys and Aliens. We're comparing the book to the movie.
They both stink.
Yeah. And then
that was an agree with me chuckle, by the way. I know your chuckles.
And then on the 27th, we're taking a break from Everyone Loves a Bad Guy Sundays. And we're doing the Screaming Boy. This is around the time that Bill Cosby got convicted of all the sexual stuff that he did. So we're revisiting that show because it never quite made it to this feed. So why not? The Screaming Boy podcast, the rise and fall of Bill Cosby. I'm fairly certain there was an editorial choice that made of, hey, let's not touch this one. Enough time has passed and they let the guy out of prison. So let's talk about it.
Hey, you want to know something funny?
What?
So you remember Ahmad Rashad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you recall that he proposed to and was briefly married to the actress who played Bill Cosby's wife on The Cosby Show, right? So do you know who the groomsmen were for Ahmad Rashad in that wedding?
Bill Cosby.
He walked his co-star down the aisle because I believe her father had passed. Do you know who his best man was?
Who?
Orenthal James Simpson.
This is the most awesome wedding ever.
So there's Ahmad Rashad, who doesn't exactly have a sterling reputation with women either, flanked by Bill Cosby and O.J. Simpson.
Yeah, that's fucking fantastic. All right, Sunday is Metal Hammer of Doom Sundays. We got Dragon Force. What's the name of this album? Maximum Overload. And then we kick things off with me and Jesse doing the second part of our heavy metal comics trilogy. We're looking at Slayer, Repentless. And then on Tuesday, I'm re-airing the Lee McGregor versus Cash Farouk alternative commentary, where I believe we all decided that Cash Farouk got robbed, I tell you. And then we're back here on Tuesday night. Damn you, Hollywood, the Little Moymaid. And we'll have Alexis Hano with us. She keeps fucking saying, like, oh, why are you making me do this? I'm like, I'm not making you do anything. You like to do the Disney movies. Don't fucking do it if you don't want to.
Mark.
Sir.
I'm not looking forward to that review.
And no one's looking forward to the movie or the review. Hang on.
I'm gonna have to bury a poor young woman and her acting career.
All right. Well, listen to me. We got Everyone Loves a Bad Guy Transformers on June 3rd. Everyone Loves a Bad Guy The Flash on the 10th.
Actually, that reminds me. I have to ask this question. Why did they decide that melding Beast Wars with the existential cosmic horror of Unicron was the mashup we needed for the next Transformers movie?
Out of ideas. And then hopefully Robert Winfree will get the last bit of his Everyone Loves a Bad Guy. That's why I stop harassing him about this.
I think I have time this Saturday because there's no UFC event. Sunday I'm covering the AEW show, but I think Saturday I have time. Okay, so
well,
next little bit should start coming up.
Okay, yeah, you need to start starting the 17th. You need stuff on Sundays again.
17th of July or June?
June.
Okay.
You need stuff to fill in between June 17th and July 15th, and then you have a reprieve for the 22nd and the 29th, and then
I think there's only like 5 more.
Yeah, you might be out by then. That's what I need you to let me know. So that's that. That's the schedule. What do you got going on?
Well, I spent the last couple of weeks covering AEW, covering WWE's Monday Night Raw because Tony Acero was doing his job, but because the Lakers got swept, he is now free to return to covering Raw. So you got me for a couple of weeks doing that, and then he should be back this coming Monday. So there's that. I cover WWE SmackDown every Friday, so tune in for that, even though this one's pre-taped and we already know what happened. I am not at the moment covering the Sweet Sweet Saudi Blood Money card. Wait and see, but there is no UFC event this Saturday. They're taking a week off.
Oh, you're going to watch... You're going to watch either of the boxing matches in the middle of the day.
What are they?
Luis Lopez versus Michael Conlon.
No.
So that'll probably be on ESPN. And then Mauricio Lara versus Lee Wood on DAZN, which rhymes with calzone.
No.
Yeah, I'm not watching them either. But that's because I'm social.
Sure. That's why.
I'm busy. I can't. I'd love to stay home and watch them.
No, you wouldn't.
Alrighty.
You're not. No one's looking forward to those fights.
I would watch the Conlon fight. I like him.
Why?
Can we just move on?
You don't. As soon as Mark no longer has an answer for my question,
I can't enjoy anything.
I'm just asking why.
He's plucky.
Sunday, I will be covering AEW's Double or Nothing. So.
Oh, is that this Sunday?
The 28th, yeah. So tune in.
Shit. Okay. I need to put that on the calendar. What time does that start?
I don't know.
Okay.
Hang on.
Gonna go with 8 o'clock. 7 o'clock? 8 o'clock?
Hang on.
We're social in this house. I have to tell people.
Is my thing scheduled? I think 8 p.m. Eastern.
Terrific.
So if you want to come by the Wrestling Zone of 411mania.com, you can listen to me crap all over AEW. That'll be fun. The comment section will drag me for it per usual, but what do I care? And I covered last week was UFC on ESPN Plus 81. So if you want a full review of that card, let me plug the other podcast I do. I host the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast every Sunday evening. It tends to go live late Sunday / very early Monday morning. It's your weekly look into the wide, wacky, wonderful world of mixed martial arts. Available iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, any of those places, really. Pretty much wherever you're listening to this, unless you're watching us live on Twitch, in which case, thank you, but you can't find me over there. But that's, yeah, so this last week was just a review of that card. Talks about the boatload of fights the UFC announced, including Justin Gaethje versus Dustin Poirier 2, about an hour north of me. And I will not be attending because I has no laptop and I has the SAD.
Aw.
Watching from home is usually better anyway. the experience is usually better.
Mm.
But they put heavyweights on that card, Mark, and a couple of light heavyweights too. Derek Lewis is fighting in Salt Lake City. The altitude might kill that man.
Yeah, it's like that seemed like it's not good for his health.
I forget who he's fighting, but yeah, there's that. There's a light heavyweight fight that, again, just like, I don't mind fights at altitude, but if even the lightweight guys and the welterweight guys feel it when they fight up here, and they all do, they all talk about it, putting heavyweights here or Colorado or like Denver or something is just mean. Like that might be a violation of the Geneva Convention. But anyway, you can get my full thoughts on, again, the fights announced. Francis Ngannou announced where he signed and all that good stuff. So tune in for that. If you're so inclined, always appreciate it. The Little Mermaid next week, wherein Mark and I talk about the perils of trying to make things look like they're underwater when they're not. Terrible lighting choices. And for some reason, the Disney's obsession with quasi-photorealistic looking animals that then in no way, shape, form, or fashion match.
It is weird to say they commit
portrayal
to this idea, and then someone has to be looking at like dailies, or like even before it gets to dailies, they have to be looking at this on someone's computer screen, and they're just like, well, we committed to this idea, so let's go with it. But we've created a horror. This is like a Lovecraftian monster we've created, and
I defy any of you. Look up the scene floating around, the one where like Sebastian and the seagull, like see Ariel wash up on the beach. And you've got Aquafina voicing the seagull, which is a dubious choice to begin with. But if you're going to cast a personality, in theory, something about the animated portrayal of the character they're voicing should match the voice performance, should it not?
Yeah.
Something about it? And instead, nope, just looks like a seagull. And then you got the nightmare fuel that is Sebastian and his David Diggs with this like terrible Jamaican accent.
Yeah, as I said, with David Diggs, unless he's doing that as Thomas Jefferson, I ain't interested.
And then Flounder, who's not actually a flounder anymore and just looks like the saddest thing in the world.
Again, Lovecraftian monster. All right, folks.
I fully expect Cthulhu to rise, eat Ursula, and then devour everyone. This is what I want. I am rooting for the Eldritch monstrosity to rise from the depths of the ocean and claim your entire fictional universe.
All right. With that said, folks, this has been Damn You Hollywood. He's Robert Winfree. I have to go cut TikToks.
I can't be anyone else.
Be well, be safe, and behave.